At a baseball game, Shiryun's dad makes him watch a baseball game even though Shiryun finds it really boring, but his dad says it's an important game. Suddenly, Shiryun hears people shouting the name Phoenix, cheering loudly for the team. Then, others start yelling for a player named Kong, who looks like he's falling behind. Curiously, Shiryun asks his dad if their team is losing, and his dad nods, saying it looks that way. Shiryun then asks if they're going to switch the pitcher, but his dad explains that Kong used to be the team's ace and was amazing back in his prime. Shiryun thinks to himself that baseball seems really hard, no matter how many times he watches it. He stares at the pitcher again and wonders what's so great about him since, to Shiryun, it just looks like he's simply throwing a ball. Right then, the ball thrown by the pitcher starts breaking apart in the air like a jigsaw puzzle. The pitcher's name is Kong, and he's brought back to the team by the Phoenix infielders because of his strong defense. While everyone else watches the other players, Shiryun keeps his eyes on the pitcher since he's more curious about what the pitcher is feeling. A few days later, Shiryun asks some boys why they don't like playing with him, and they tell him it's because they always have to buy new balls when they play together. After they leave, Shiryun decides to find out what's wrong with his pitching. He gets into position and throws the ball just like he learned from the internet. The ball hits the fence so hard that it bends, showing how powerful his throw really is. Back at home, Shiryun's mom gets angry at his dad for taking Shiryun to watch the match secretly, but he doesn't take her. She wonders if Shiryun is out playing with his friends because she is curious how fun the game was for him to be indulged in it. Shiryun's dad is surprised because he always thought Shiryun didn't like baseball that much, but right after the game ended, Shiryun asked him to buy a baseball glove. Later, he tells Shiryun's mom that it's been about 2 weeks now, and Shiryun has been playing almost every day without missing a single one. Just then, Shiryun comes running home, full of excitement, and tells his parents that he wants to play baseball for real and be part of a team. 7 years later, Shiryun is still crazy about baseball, so much that he even watches match during class. When he gets caught and kicked out, one of his classmates named Daeun starts to worry about him. Later on, Daeun tells Shiryun that there's a team that defeated both Japan and their own team, and people are now calling that team's players the Golden Generation. Meanwhile, Kong finally arrives in the city and starts working as the pitching coach for Miru High School. On the other hand, Shiryun's team is now facing Kwangbeek Middle School, and everyone on his team feels nervous because they believe they don't stand a chance against them. Daeun tells everyone to stop talking and gather around for a quick meeting. He tries to calm Shiryun down by telling him not to be nervous, but Shiryun quietly points out that Daeun's zipper is open, which makes everyone a little less tense for a moment. Over on Kwangbeek's side, their player Tae-oh gets frustrated and accidentally tears the skin on his own finger in anger. Soon after, the game starts, and Shiryun's team's first batter steps up but gets out almost immediately, making the rest of the team even more worried. Kong also arrives to watch the match and the director meets him, asking what he thinks of that catcher at Kwangbeek. The director explains that Tae-oh is the most unique guy in that team as he got some good hitting abilities and his throwing skills have also improved. However, the bad part is that he is very arrogant and everyone calls him the lone general. Kong thinks that it's fascinating, and even if someone is infamous there are always hidden gems. Tae-oh then gives signals that they are changing into an outward falling sphere, which confuses the pitcher. Tae-oh then takes a timeout and yells at the pitcher, but the pitcher says that they are winning the game, so he wants at least one shot. Hearing that, Tae-oh gets angry and says that the game can still be turned around since the score is only 4-1. He adds that if Shiryun throws a real fastball, he'll just give the other team a chance to catch up. After that, the game continues, and they manage to get another batter out. Shiryun starts to feel excited when he notices how much the pitcher's change-up ball drops this time. Just then, the coach calls out to Shiryun and tells him that he'll be pitching in the 7th inning. Hearing this, Junsu gets furious and demands to go instead, but the coach quietly whispers to him that if Shiryun takes the mound, the only thing left to do is make him shine even brighter. The coach then admits that he believes they're going to lose this match, which makes Junsu even angrier. Shiryun, however, stays calm and tells him that the game isn't over yet. When his turn finally comes, the coach looks at him and tells him to pitch just like he always does. After that, Shiryun throws the ball and gets a strike, so the other team assumes it's just an average fastball. The game goes on, but Shiryun's pitches start getting worse and worse. Watching this, the director comments that Wonsok Middle's pitcher doesn't seem to have enough strength. However, Kong notices something different. He thinks Shiryun's form looks a little off, like he's purposely holding back his power. Daeun gets angry, realizing that Shiryun is giving easy balls to the other team just because the coach told him to. Then, Shiryun throws another pitch, and the batter hits a powerful shot that looks like a home run, but one of Shiryun's teammates manages to catch it and tosses it back toward Daeun. For a second, Daeun thinks the play is over, but suddenly a batter comes charging straight at him. Seeing this, Shiryun yells at the batter to apologize to Daeun, but the batter ignores him. That's when Tae-oh steps in and tells the batter to say sorry because they're still in the middle of a game. After that, Tae-oh walks up to Shiryun and tells him that his pitching looks weak, like he's just playing a simple game of catch. He also says that they've been stuck with a bad catcher the whole game and that their lousy teamwork just shows how little effort they're putting in. Hearing this, Daeun quickly tells Shiryun not to get angry and let it mess up his focus, but Shiryun can't believe Tae-oh insulted him right to his face. His anger boils up, and the game goes on. When it's his turn to pitch again, Shiryun takes a deep breath and thinks about how much baseball means to him and how he made a promise to never give up. With that thought in his mind, he throws an unbelievably fast pitch that shocks everyone, including Daeun, since no one has seen a fastball like that from him in a long time. After that, one of the players asks the coach if Shiryun is acting strange, but the coach replies that he's fine and that Shiryun is still good at throwing the ball in the middle as he's just been acting a little off lately. Meanwhile, Shiryun himself is feeling confused about everything that's going on, so Daeun walks over and hits him lightly, asking why he's acting like this. Shiryun quietly says that throwing the ball doesn't feel fun anymore. He admits that he's not enjoying it like he used to. Hearing this, Daeun smiles and asks if they should start with Tae-oh instead. Then he adds that they should begin with the person who's been ignoring them, but that only makes Shiryun more confused. Daeun sighs and says that instead of standing around doing nothing and losing their last game like this, they should at least do something meaningful for the team. Afterward, the match continues but Daeun still feels that pain from the crash that he had with another player earlier. Afterward, we got a flashback when everyone in the team used to appreciate Shiryun's incredibly fast pitches and they thought he was going to be next year's ace. However, there was one person who didn't like him and was jealous, that was Junsu. Junsu's father even gives the coach some money, telling him to keep Shiryun out of the spotlight and make sure he stops throwing those strong pitches again. Later, Junsu talks to the coach and asks if he can make Shiryun quit the baseball team. He warns that if the coach can't do it, he'll transfer to another school instead. After that, Junsu comes up with a sneaky plan and whispers it to the coach. That evening, the coach calls Shiryun over and tells him that his pitching style needs to be fixed, so he should stop adding movement and just throw the ball plain and simple. He also tells Shiryun that if he follows his advice and plays this way through middle school, he'll write a recommendation letter for his high school baseball club. Back in the present, Shiryun throws his special fastball again, and it flies straight into the catcher's glove, shocking everyone watching. That powerful pitch is known as the two-seam fastball. Afterward, Shiryun keeps throwing those curved fastballs and seeing that the director thinks that this seems like a completely different pitcher. Kong thinks that a three-quarter form that throws the release point as much as possible, he can see it by just glancing that it's an excellent posture and the trajectory of the ball. Meanwhile, Junsu yells at the coach and asks if he is going to leave it like that but the coach thinks that Shiryun is doing great and if Daeun can catch that ball, there's a chance. He also thinks to himself that he can't make a substitution right now because if he does, it'll look suspicious, so he decides to just watch how things go for a while. Meanwhile, Shiryun actually seems to be enjoying this kind of game where he gets to face the batter directly, one-on-one. After that, Shiryun throws another fastball, but Tae-oh swings too early and misses completely, causing the ball to land in Daeun's glove and bounce behind him, which means Tae-oh isn't out. Feeling embarrassed, Tae-oh looks down and thinks he can't even face Shiryun after messing up like that, but Shiryun gives him a small smile and says it's okay. Right then, the coach comes over and tells Shiryun that he's going to be replaced. Even the director and Kong think it's unfair since the mistake was actually the catcher's fault, not Shiryun's. After some time, the game ends with Shiryun's team losing, and Tae-oh angrily yells at Shiryun for not using his full strength from the beginning. Shiryun says goodbye to him and walks back to Daeun, who apologizes for what happened. But Shiryun shakes his head and says that the loss wasn't because of him. Meanwhile, Kong turns to the director and asks if he knows anything about the pitcher who threw during the 7th inning. He says that the boy seems special and that if he keeps pitching like that, he could become really famous someday. Later that evening, the coach quietly decides to tear up Shiryun's recommendation letter, saying it's because Shiryun broke his promise. After that, Daeun starts thinking about how, while everyone else usually goes home to relax or hang out after practice, Shiryun always stays behind, throwing ball after ball even when practice is already over. Then, Daeun gets a text from Shiryun saying that he needs to practice a bit more before heading home. Daeun wonders why, since the team meeting should have ended already and the coach had called Shuryun alone. Just then, he suddenly feels sharp pain in his ribs from his old injury, so he decides to stop by the hospital first. Meanwhile, Shuryun is in the coach's office, trying to explain that everything he did was for the team, but the coach doesn't want to hear it and angrily tells him that he broke his promise. Shuryun tells the coach that he only pitched like that today because he thought it was for the team, but the coach gets angry and yells at him for talking back without any reason. Shuryun then realizes that without a letter of recommendation, he won't be able to take part in any important high school competitions. He clenches the baseball tightly in his hand, and even though he wants to hit that greedy old coach, he stops himself, apologizes quietly and walks out of the room. On his way out, he bumps into Junsu and throws the ball at him, saying he's just returning the one Junsu gave him that day. As he walks away, Shuryun thinks to himself that he'll start all over again because he truly loves baseball more than anyone else. Seeing this, Junsu gets furious and storms into the coach's office, shouting and demanding to know why Shuryun is acting that way and if the coach really cancelled his recommendation. Junsu mentions that there were scouts watching today's game too and he thinks Shuryun was the one who stood out the most. But when Junsu walks out of the room, he suddenly sees Daeun standing right in front of him. Daeun stops him and demands to know what they were talking about, asking why he heard Shuryun's name being mentioned. The coach quickly tries to cover it up and lies, saying he was just thinking about giving Shuryun a recommendation letter for a high school team. Hearing this, Daeun grabs his bat and angrily asks if Shuryun even knows about it. Then, in a burst of anger, he swings the bat, not at the coach but at the things around the office and smashes everything in sight to let out his frustration. Afterward, the directors restricted the participation of players due to bribery and corruption and this made the Wonsok Middle School upside down. The principal dismissed the coach and Daeun who reported this. His damage to school property and assault was also recognized in the process. He was given 1 year of on-campus service activities and 1 year suspension from the competition. Moreover, the public that they use bribery in exchange for the performance of players, the rest of the members have been restricted from playing in the match. Afterward, the rumors circulated around as Junsu told everyone that he was a victim of paying too much. He simply gives money to increase his performance. Later on, another coach comes up to Shuryun and apologizes, saying that he had noticed for a long time that the way the head coach rotated pitchers was strange. He adds that if he had paid more attention back then, all of this could have been avoided. The coach then tells Shuryun that he'll try to find some recommendation opportunities for him, but Shuryun calmly replies that he'll take care of it on his own and handle everything professionally. Before leaving, Shuryun tells the coach that even after everything happened, he never stopped playing baseball, and that just shows how deeply he loves the sport. After he leaves, the coach's phone rings and it's a call from a baseball manager who asks for Shuryun's home address. Later, Shuryun runs into Junsu in the corridor who tells him that he is also a victim and this makes Shuryun furious. Shuryun bangs him to the wall and asks him what he ever did but Junsu asks him to hit him because if he does, he is going to be removed from the association and will be given disciplinary. However, Shuryun doesn't hit Junsu and instead walks away. As he passes by, he asks Junsu if he really enjoys playing baseball by just throwing money around since he doesn't have any real talent. Hearing that, Junsu gets furious and shouts at him, but Shuryun doesn't even look back and keeps walking toward his class. On the way, he runs into Daeun, who tells him to go on ahead because he has to stay behind and do some volunteer work on campus. Later that evening, Shuryun returns home, and his mother tells him that she called the coach earlier that morning. She says the coach admitted that he hadn't been careful and ended up interfering with Shuryun's progress. Shuryun tells his mom that the coach promised to write him a letter of recommendation but refused to do it in the end, which leaves his mother shocked. She gently tells him not to worry about the money, saying that she and his father will handle everything, and that he should just focus on playing baseball like he loves to. Shuryun's dad adds that he should really think about it carefully and reminds him that he doesn't have to carry this heavy burden for the rest of his life. After saying that, his dad picks up his pack of cigarettes and steps outside to smoke. While he's there, a man walks up to him. It's Mapung Kong who asks if this is Shuryun's house. After that, Shuryun is completely shocked and can't believe that the top ace of a pro team is actually sitting inside their small store. His father looks at Mapung and asks if he came to see their son since he's now working as a high school coach. Mapung nods and says that he was really impressed by Shuryun's pitching during last week's tournament. He explains that he's from Mir High School and that they see great potential in Shuryun, which is why he came personally to scout him. Mapung adds that it's a test-based recommendation for admission, meaning the coach needs to evaluate each player's skills directly. Hearing this, Shiryun's dad turns to him and asks what he thinks about the offer. Shiryun replies that he'll think it over, but Mapung quietly wonders to himself what happened to him, as it seems like Shiryun is losing his passion and might even be thinking about quitting baseball. Mapung tells Shiryun that the baseball facilities at their school are really good, but Shiryun shakes his head and says that it's not about the facilities, as he's just been feeling unsure about baseball lately. He explains that it doesn't feel easy to keep playing just because he likes it. Mapung then thinks to himself that Shiryun's middle school record isn't very impressive, but he doesn't know the reason why, especially since he heard that Shiryun's old coach was recently dismissed. After a while, Shiryun's dad asks Mapung if he thinks Shiryun has what it takes to go pro. Mapung then asks if he's ever watched his son play, but the dad admits that he hasn't because he's always busy with work. Hearing that, Mapung says honestly that there are many students out there who are better than Shiryun. He explains that he has seen a lot of players with great potential, but most of them were monsters on the field and people everyone called geniuses. Even in tough situations, some players are willing to throw themselves into the game without hesitation. But when Mapung saw Shiryun pitch that day, he realized that Shiryun was the one who truly loved baseball more than anyone else. Mapung then asks Shiryun if he has ever heard of a winning shot, explaining that it's the pitch he threw that day, the one no one could catch, which didn't count as an out, but was strong enough to strike the batter out if it had connected right. He tells Shiryun that if that winning shot had worked, he should have felt thrilled about it. After saying this, Mapung drops his business card on the table and tells them to contact him whenever they feel ready. Later, Shiryun tells his parents that his friend got injured because of him, but even so, he's decided to keep playing baseball and plans to go to Mir High School. Afterward, Shiryun leaves the house, saying he is going to inform his friend about it. After that, Shiryun calls Daeun and tells him to meet at the playground in front of his house. A little while later, Daeun arrives and spots Shiryun sitting on a bench, mumbling to himself about how he missed getting Mapung Kang's autograph earlier. Looking confused, Daeun asks why he's yelling for no reason. Shiryun quickly changes the topic and asks if Daeun's injury has healed now. Daeun nods and says it's all fine. Then, curious, he asks why Shiryun suddenly wanted to meet. Shiryun goes quiet for a moment before saying he's sorry. He explains that it was hard for him to say it before because it felt like Daeun had been avoiding him for some time. However, Daeun asks what he's sorry for, so Shiryun says he's sorry for everything and that Daeun got into disciplinary trouble because of him. Daeun tells him that he's his friend, but he's way too easygoing, and that's why people keep taking advantage of him. After that, Daeun loses his temper and asks again why he's apologizing, saying the thing that really annoys him is that he got in trouble and didn't even think Daeun would have done those pitches just for a recommendation letter. Daeun says that if Shiryun had such an offer, he should have told him so they could have thought about it together, and wonders why he thought Daeun would just ignore him. After a moment, Daeun calms down and asks what Shiryun plans to do now that he turned down the coach's offer. Shiryun tells him that he got scouted by Mir High School, but he has to give some kind of test. After that, Daeun sits down next to him and says that if he didn't throw a two-seam fastball in the real game just for a letter of recommendation, he might feel even more upset later on. Daeun tells Shiryun to take a chance, go for the test at Mir High School, and show everyone what he can do in high school baseball. He also says that he's not quitting baseball either and plans to go to a school that has a baseball club. Hearing that, Shiryun starts to cry, and the two of them shake hands tightly. The next day, Shiryun goes to the place to take the test, but when he gets there, he sees a bunch of other weird kids just like him. One of them asks a blonde-haired guy how long it takes him to run 100 meters, and the guy starts bragging about all the special and tough training he did just to be able to take the fitness test. Shiryun starts to wonder if there are two others who also got scouted, but then a guy with long hair walks up and asks Shiryun if they've met before. Shiryun shakes his head and says they haven't. Among all of them, Shiryun also spots Tae-oh standing there, looking calm and confident as ever. After that, Mapung Kang gathers everyone and tells them that since their baseball field is still being built, they'll be using a rented batting field for the time being. While walking there, Shiryun spots the long-haired guy from earlier and realizes he's Kanjin from Haegak Middle School. He starts thinking that there are some really strong players here, including Tae-oh from Kwangbik Middle, who was the runner-up in the National Middle School Tournament. Shiryun thinks about how they used to play in the same league but never imagined they'd meet again so soon. Later on, Mir High's defense coach, Gunchul, is seen organizing players on the field while some of them complain about the old, torn uniforms he handed out to them. Just then, Mir High's batting coach, Ji-hun, shows up and announces that they'll be practicing batting today. Gunchul then turns to the director, Won-koo, and asks if they should go ahead and start the test since the kids have already had enough rest. After that, all the coaches stand together in front of the students and say that they'll now explain how the test is going to work. A blonde-haired student comments that some of the people here were also present during the last physical test. The director then explains that there were originally 13 candidates chosen for the talent selection, but 3 more were added, making a total of 16 freshmen. He continues, saying that not all of them will be accepted into the main school team, and starting now, they'll be split into 2 groups to play a 5-inning match. Hearing that, the seniors go wild and start shouting that they're going to make the freshmen their juniors from now on. After that, the players are split into 2 groups as Team A and Team B. Tae-oh, who's on Team B, asks the pitcher from Team A what kind of pitches he can throw. Soon after, the match begins with Team A up to bat in the first inning. The batter from Team A steps up to the plate, while Tae-oh takes his position as the catcher for Team B. The batter thinks that in a game like this, where everyone needs to stay sharp and think fast, it'll really show how well each player can work together. He watches a couple of pitches go by to check the pitcher's rhythm but then swings at the next one. However, the hit doesn't have much power since they're using wooden bats, and the ball flies weakly toward center field. Miho, the center fielder from Team B, easily catches it and the batter is out. Afterward, the second batter also gets out and Tae-oh thinks that it's worth throwing his signs even though the ball sucks. Just then, another batter from Team A named Sungdo arrives on the field, saying he will destroy everyone. He then easily hits the ball with insane speed and the ball goes straight towards the fence. However, the blonde-haired guy on defense, who was feeling confident about his skills, now starts to realize the big difference between them and the actual high school players. Meanwhile, Tae-oh gives signals to his teammates, thinking to himself that they shouldn't panic and just stay calm while focusing on the next play. Soon after, the next batter steps up, and he's a tall and powerful hitter who clearly needs to be handled carefully. Tae-oh then signals the pitcher to throw a fastball, but the pitcher turns his face away, ignoring the call, which makes Tae-oh instantly angry. Then, a flashback shows Tae-oh remembering the time he kept wondering why he lost even when he had the best lead during a past game. In that memory, one of his teammates called him stubborn, and Tae-oh got furious, yelling back at the player out of frustration. The pitcher says he threw the pitch he wanted to throw and then walks off, saying he actually feels relieved now that he doesn't have to be paired with Tae-oh anymore. As he leaves, he sarcastically asks if playing baseball is even fun for him. Tae-oh clenches his fists in anger, thinking to himself that there's no such thing as fun in a game when it really matters. Later, Tae-oh heads to the consultation room, where he finds Mapung Kong waiting for him. Mapung tells him that Mir High is a new school, but they're looking for talented players like him to help build a strong team. However, Tae-oh quietly apologizes and says that he wants to join a team that has a real chance of winning the championship. Mapung says he's heard that Tae-oh has already been invited several times by strong teams that are aiming for the championship. But then, he points out that many coaches think Tae-oh's communication as a catcher is really poor, and that's the reason none of those schools offered him a catcher position. Mapung tells him to take Mir High's test and prove his skills, promising that if he shows his true ability, they'll help him become the best catcher in high school baseball. Back in the present, Tae-oh signals to the pitcher to just throw whatever he wants and leaves the rest to him. The pitcher winds up and throws the ball, and right at that moment, the runner dashes from first base and manages to safely slide onto the plate. After that, another batter steps up, and the pitcher throws again, but the batter hits it easily without much effort. Seeing that, Tae-oh tells the pitcher to follow his lead properly next time since they're lucky the other team didn't manage to score from that play. Afterward, it becomes Team A's turn to pitch, and the catcher turns to Shiryun, reminding him that the signs they're using are the same as before. Earlier, Shiryun had told the catcher that the only pitch he could throw was a fastball, so the catcher told him to give it everything he's got and throw his strongest pitch since that's his main weapon, and it's the catcher's job to bring out a pitcher's best. The catcher also mentioned that he had talked to Mapung Kong about Shiryun's two-seam, and Mapung said it was really good. Back in the present, Shiryun throws another terrible pitch, shocking both the batter and the catcher. The batter thinks to himself that it doesn't matter how talented a batter or catcher is and, in the end, the most important person to watch in the game is always the pitcher. Shiryun wonders if he used too much strength before and that's why the catcher couldn't handle the ball properly. After that, he throws again with the same amount of power, and this time the catcher catches it cleanly without any trouble. Just then, Kanjin shouted out that he had been looking forward to facing Shiryun and that their matchup was really close. Meanwhile, Tae-oh watches from behind and thinks that hitting a ball like that is definitely tricky, but from a catcher's point of view, it's not impossible to deal with. He also notes that while some might think it's just a strong fastball, it actually curves sharply right before reaching the home plate. He also starts thinking that even if the ball's path becomes familiar to the eyes after catching so many pitches during practice, the reaction speed still needs to keep up with it every single time. After that, Shuryun throws another extremely fast pitch, and the catcher somehow manages to catch it again. The catcher then signals Shuryun for the next throw, and this time, Shuryun changes his pitching style a bit. The batter assumes that Shuryun made a mistake and quickly swings at it, but the ball zips past him and ends up going foul. The catcher then realizes that Shuryun's pitching form has changed quite a lot, and it almost seems like he's aiming straight down the middle on purpose because he might be struggling to control the ball properly. On the other hand, Mapungkong watches closely and thinks that while Shuryun can throw a strike, his four-seam fastball lacks power, and his two-seam moves wildly with a big curve that he just can't seem to control. When he first saw Shuryun pitch, it looked kind of funny, but no matter how much he observes him now, something still feels off about his throws. After that, Shuryun throws two more fastballs, and although the catcher manages to catch them, he can't shake the strange feeling that something isn't quite right. Then, another batter asks his teammate what he thinks about Shuryun's pitch, and the batter replies that if Shuryun could actually throw consistent strikes, he would have been a really tough opponent to face. Afterward, it becomes Taeo's turn to bat and he is ready to face Shuryun's next pitch. After that, Shuryun throws the ball and the batter gets furious, feeling like Shuryun is making a fool out of him in front of everyone. The ball comes really close to the bat, but the catcher catches it cleanly without much effort. He starts thinking that Shuryun's two-seam pitch keeps dropping little by little, and if Shuryun really wants to throw a strike, he definitely can. However, he also wonders that if Shuryun tries to throw a four-seam for a strike instead, it'll be way too easy for the batter to hit. Then, Shuryun throws another fastball just like before, but this time, the batter makes contact and hits it. The ball flies straight toward the defender, who quickly reacts and manages to catch it using his hat, surprising everyone around. Finally, it's Taeo's turn to bat, and the director starts thinking that while Taeo has already proved his skills in defense, they still haven't seen how good he really is at batting. Meanwhile, a red-haired girl, who had been asleep for a long time, suddenly wakes up and notices that the game is still going on. By that time, two pitches have already been thrown, but Taeo doesn't swing at either of them, which makes the catcher wonder why he isn't trying to hit the ball at all. Then, out of nowhere, Taeo starts provoking Shuryun, which surprises everyone watching, since it looks like he's full of confidence and sure that he can hit the next pitch no matter what. However, Shuryun realizes and figures out that Taeo wants to have a rematch and another chance with his two-seam pitch, so then he throws a two-seam ball towards him. However, the ball gets hit and results in a foul, but Shuryun keeps throwing more pitches that all turn into foul balls one after another until Taeo hits it again and it ends up being a foul as well this time. Seeing and watching that happen right in front of him, the catcher realizes and understands that his vision and eyesight is not the actual problem here, but instead he is cutting out and making contact with the ball at a slower speed than usual. He thinks to himself about how last time he was just passing by without trying too hard, and he wonders how someone can actually be so persistent and keep going like this. Meanwhile, during all of this happening, the players standing around start wondering and asking themselves how many more foul balls there are going to be since it is already the 8th one happening in a row now. The blonde-haired guy thinks that Shuryun seems to be struggling to throw his two-seam properly, but the catcher's batting level might actually be top-notch. At the same time, the director also notices that Taeo deliberately made contact with the only two-seam pitch that was slowly dropping out of the zone. Taeo thinks to himself that not a single day has passed where he's forgotten that exact pitch's movement. Ever since he first played against Shuryun, he's done countless image training sessions to study that trajectory and completely break Shuryun's two-seam. On the other hand, Shuryun starts feeling thrilled inside, thinking that baseball is truly fun and that he loves facing players who are even stronger than him because it makes the game so much more exciting. Afterward, Shuryun throws a four-seam and then Taeo quickly moves and he first reacts before thinking. Because of his improvement through continuous swing practice, it was an instinct feeling. He manages to hit the ball hard and Taeo manages to get a home run. On the other hand, a defender thought Shuryun was going to resolve with a two-seam without failing as in the end, he throws a four-seam with all his power. Afterward, the match continues with another batter hitting the ball, so Shuryun wonders if it would just pass the defenders or if it is going to be a home run. However, Kanjin manages to catch the ball at the last moment. Meanwhile, the red-haired girl is busy recording the match, thinking that as the game moves closer to its end, the players who really stand out are starting to show their skills. She notes Junwoo, a former pitcher who has turned into a well-balanced player, though since he only began playing baseball not too long ago, he still lacks some of the basic techniques. Then there's Jaeung, a fast and athletic player who can run 100 meters in just 11-second flats. She also observes the blonde-haired guy, Daeyoung, who shows strong defense and quick reflexes on the field, making him look more stable and reliable than most of the others. On the other hand, Shiryun talks to Mapungkong and says that a four-seam means a straight ball, but if he throws his four-seam in his natural form, it will move like a two-seam. Hearing that, Mapungkong asks if throwing in a straight trajectory was Shiryun's own idea. Shiryun explains that it was actually his middle school coach who taught him that, which makes Mapung realize that the coach must have been someone capable of teaching the tailing rotation technique. Mapungkong tells Shiryun to throw his four-seam fastball in his original form, saying that even if it tails a little, he can still mix it in with his regular throwing style just like he does with his two-seam. Mapung then praises him, saying he did well with 44 pitches, 2 hits, and 1 run in 2.2 innings. After that, the game continues, and Team B leads with a score of 7-4. The director thinks that if Team A's final attack ends soon, they won't even need to play through the rest of the 5th inning. Finally, the red-haired girl's favorite player, Kanjin, steps up to bat. The pitcher from Team B throws the ball, and Kanjin swings hard, hitting a massive shot that fires up his whole team and gives them the signal that they still have a real chance to win. Afterward, the match finally comes to an end, and the red-haired girl thinks it was definitely worth watching since she only got to see small glimpses of Mir High's players before this. Meanwhile, the players relax outside, laughing and chatting after the long game. Shiryun walks over to Tae-oh, trying to be friendly as he greets him and says it was a good match today. However, Tae-oh remains cold and distant as usual, replying that they aren't even close, so there's no need for greetings between them. Shiryun simply smiles and says that since they might end up attending the same school, it wouldn't hurt to get to know each other a little early. But Tae-oh asks who told him that he would be going to Mir High. Shiryun curiously asks if he didn't come to the test as a scouted player, but Tae-oh scoffs and says he's planning to attend a better school instead of joining them. Shiryun suddenly shouts, reminding Tae-oh that he was the one who said baseball is all about winning, so by that logic, this time it's his defeat. Tae-oh stops and turns back, walking up close until he's face to face with Shiryun. He looks him straight in the eyes and says that now, they're officially equal. As Tae-oh heads out, he runs into Kanjin, who greets him with a grin and says he hopes they'll both get into high school and meet again as teammates. Tae-oh then asks why Kanjin chose to come to this school when he could have easily been contacted by many others. Kanjin smiles and says that the best thing about this school is that it's full of interesting people. He also adds confidently that whether it's college or a pro team, there isn't a single place that wouldn't want him. After that moment, Kanjin explains to Tae-oh that his batting skills and defense abilities are amazing and really impressive and that many people around them don't really count or matter much. Tae-oh looks like a reckless and wild guy who only thinks about winning and nothing else, which makes Tae-oh upset. Kanjin continues to explain that school names or titles don't matter at all and what matters is the person who can shine and stand out no matter what. 4 months later, Junsu finally graduates from middle school and calls his friends on the phone to tell them the news and share his happiness. Suddenly, without any warning, Shiryun and Daeun jump out from behind him where they were hiding and throw eggs at him directly. Junsu loses his mind completely and yells out loud that when they meet again in high school he will smash both of them for doing this to him. Meanwhile, Tae-oh packs his things as he gets ready to leave for high school. His dad asks if he's really okay with going there, but Tae-oh stays quiet and keeps packing. As he walks toward the door, his little sister calls out his name, and their mom lightly scolds her for being too casual. Then, Tae-oh's mom tells him to take care of his body since it's something precious for an athlete. On the other hand, Shiryun rides a crowded train where a boy is loudly playing a game on his phone, annoying everyone around. Suddenly, a drunk man walks up to the boy and asks if he's from Wonho High School's baseball team, saying he didn't know they still had students. When the drunken man realizes the boy is a foreigner, he starts acting rude toward him, but another passenger steps in and tries to stop him. The drunken man punches another passenger and angrily yells at the foreigner to answer him. He shouts that Wonho High School used to be a prestigious school with a long history, but now it looks like they're desperate enough to accept even foreigners. Just then, Shiryun steps in and stops the drunken man, but at that moment, the foreigner calmly stands up and tells the drunk man to move aside. Seeing his tall and intimidating figure, the drunken man gets scared and quickly steps back. Afterward, Shiryun and the foreigner get off the train together, and as they walk down the street, Shiryun thinks about how Wonho High used to be the strongest sports school in the area. The foreigner then turns around and asks Shiryun if he wants something because it seems like he has been following him for a while. Shiryun quickly says that it's a misunderstanding as he is on his way to catch the bus in front of this station. Afterward, Shiryun quickly tells him that he is on a baseball team Oswell and he goes to Mir High School baseball team. Shiryun also says that Wanho is a prestigious school with high competition, but the guy says that it's not and he is also a freshman this year. Afterward, the guy keeps walking away but Shiryun runs back to him quickly and says to him that if they are at the same place and location, they can meet each other at a tournament someday in the future. Then he extends his hand forward to greet him properly. Instead of shaking the hand that is offered to him, the guy uses a rock-paper-scissors move with his hand and tells Shiryun directly that he is Hei-chan. Later on, Shiryun gets to the Mir High School building where their manager, who is named Dong-sik, shows Shiryun around and takes him to his new room where he will be staying. He then explains and goes over all the rules and regulations of this dorm building, saying to him that he can go to the cafeteria downstairs whenever he needs to eat food. Afterward, Shiryun enters the room and opens the door to find 3 more students already inside, which includes the people named Junwoo, Youngjae, and Guntae, who are his new roommates. Meanwhile, Daeyoung bumps into Kanjin at the arcade and asks why he's there. But Kanjin doesn't remember him, which makes Daeyoung angry. He reminds Kanjin that they played together during the freshman test a few months ago. Daeyoung then asks why he decided to go to Mir High after all, but Kanjin doesn't give a clear answer. Daeyoung is surprised because he thought Kanjin would go to a place like Wanho High School instead. At the same time, Shiryun tells his roommates about the foreign player he met earlier that day. Junwoo wonders if it's really possible for him to attend Wanho High School, even though there are only a few Korean and half-Chinese students there. Just then, Jaeyoung joins them and says that the dorm where the baseball team stays is separate from the others. Junwoo asks if he's hungry, but Jaeyoung says he's full because he already ate the macarons Woobin brought. Then, Jaeyoung wonders why Suhyun and Taeo are eating by themselves, but it turns out Taeo is actually giving Suhyun a lesson on how to throw the ball better. Later that night, everyone goes outside and finds out that their baseball field has finally opened. Shiryun asks Junwoo if he applied for a downgrade because of his competition results, but Junwoo says he's too embarrassed to admit it, though he's actually really good at practice matches. Afterward, they see Taeo running for hours, so Shiryun decides to run with him because he doesn't want to fall behind. When Taeo sees Shiryun running after him, he runs faster, but Shiryun says that he still made it in the end even though Taeo was rude before. After a while of practicing together, they stop to rest and take a break, and Taeo tells him and explains that even if he doesn't have a fastball in his pitching arsenal, his natural movement on the ball is still a gift and a talent for a pitcher like him. Taeo then asks him the question of whether he was born with this ability or if he worked hard for it over many years. Shiryun says and answers that it's both things together. He was born with it naturally, but when he was young and just starting out, he started playing catch a lot with other people. He also says and mentions that his movement was good from the start and beginning because of how he held the ball in his hand, which made it spin more than usual, so he threw it from the tip better than others around him could do. Shiryun says that he heard from a friend that his pitching form had the potential to elevate the movement and later, he was able to throw a two-seam. In the end, Taeo tells Shiryun directly that starting tomorrow and from now on, he will be the one to catch his ball during practice sessions. The next day, everyone gathers at the baseball field for practice. Many students complain uncomfortably about the situation, talking about how the Mir High School team is really good and wondering who actually cares about anyone except that guy with the distinctive magpie hair. They hear that the Winter League performance of this team is even better than their own performance, which seems crazy to them. They really want to know if this is actually true. The students look at the people who are considered the main players of their school team. Someone asks if they are taking on a big responsibility this year and wonders why everyone is so hasty about everything. Another person questions why anyone should even care about these things. Hakan stands there with his arms folded across his chest in a way that clearly shows he is upset, but he says that a catcher mixing up signs like this is not okay at all. Min Yuha says sorry for the mistake, then puts his bag over his shoulder and walks over to them. He tells everyone that Donghyun is going to catch all the balls from now on. Donghyun does not complain at all about this decision and promises he is going to try harder from now on. Someone moves in really close so their face looks bigger. This person says the only thing they care about is making sure everyone understands the basic fundamentals of what catching actually means. They tell everyone not to forget the simplest things about the game. Coach feels scared by this intense moment. Someone laughs and says that Ho-chan is acting exactly like a strict military director. Ho-chan then turns to talk directly to Min Yuha and explains that instead of blaming people, he is actually more worried about what is coming. He points out that this year is one of their first years at this level. Min Yuha completely agrees with what he is saying and tells him that he knows and thinks exactly the same way. He turns around and tells everyone that as the representative, they are definitely going to experience a completely new world this season. He says that cheering for the pitching team is the right thing they should do. On the other side, one person laughs at their whole conversation. Kihyuk makes fun of them by comparing their team to something like young dragons. He tells Miho not to worry too much about everything. Another person comes over to help calm things down. This person says they are worried about Kihyuk and really want to go back home and find a successor to replace him. Meanwhile, Shiryun tightens his glove anyway and says that if the coach and director were here, they would train everyone to death anyway, so why is it boring to just sit and wait quietly? In the distance, Tae-oh is watching them practice. Shiryun looks at him and mentions that he also says he is going to catch his ball. Tao shouts back from the front, reminding him about something important ahead of time. He almost yells to make Shiryun say it louder. Tae-oh points out that there is a difference in stance between throwing a 4-seam fastball and a 2-seam fastball. He brings up the last time Shiryun throws the ball in the rematch with him. Shiryun does not smile and wonders what he should say now. He waves his hand and tells everyone not to worry about that because during the past vacation, he practices how to get rid of the difference between the two stances completely. Afterward, Tae-oh asks if Kanjin is going to fight him right away at this moment. Standing across from him on the field, Kanjin says yeah, so Tae-oh should step aside first and let him through. Tae questions what kind of ball Kanjin is planning to play without having a catcher present to catch for him. However, Kong asks if he says too much about the situation. Then he points directly at Shiryun to get his full attention right now. Shiryun listens very carefully to what he is saying to him. He tells Shiryun here are some things he wants to suggest to him about pitching. Then suddenly, he thinks that Shiryun's pitching style is suitable for high school level competition and wants to test it. He just wants to verify whether he is right or not about this observation he has made. Kanjin tells Shiryun to let him say one thing that is important. He wants Shiryun to throw with all his might and full strength without holding back at all. On this side of the field, Shiryun is still silently listening to every single word that Kanjin says to him carefully. Kanjin tells him it does not matter what type of pitch he throws or what direction the ball goes in the air. He asks if Shiryun can only throw straight pitches and nothing else. Kanjin continues by saying what he wants Shiryun to observe is to re-examine himself and ask himself what kind of ball he will throw when Kanjin hits it back at him with his bat. Afterward, Kanjin says even if Shiryun calculates in advance the ball path that makes it impossible for him to hit successfully, he will still admit defeat if that actually happens to him. Junwoo cannot help but think to himself about what Kanjin actually means by all this talk. Kanjin leans on his baseball bat for support and makes a condition for the challenge they are about to do. He says if he loses this challenge, everyone is free to judge the outcome however they want. He explains that even if it is an out or a foul ball hit, he still considers himself the loser of the bet. He asks what Shiryun thinks about this proposal he is making right now. Junwoo rubs his chin and calculates everything in his heart quietly while watching them. Taeo's anger reaches a climax and he interrupts the two of them talking to each other. He says that it is a stupid statement to make right now. Tae-oh angrily scolds them loudly and asks what kind of challenge this event is supposed to be. He reminds them that he is the one who is playing with Shiryun right now, not Kong. On the contrary, Kanjin responds with a completely indifferent attitude and tells Tae-oh not to bother them and to get out of here immediately. He apologizes to Tae-oh but says he is not talking to him at all during this conversation. Having said that, he turns to Shiryun to ask what he thinks about the challenge he is proposing. Seeing that Shiryun is still hesitant about deciding what to do, Kanjin immediately makes an attractive offer to convince him to accept. He asks if Shiryun wants to bet on it and says the loser will have to buy steamed buns for everyone who is watching. Shiryun's eyes light up immediately and he replies right away that it is a deal because he likes vegetables filling the most out of all flavors. Tae-oh stammers and cannot speak properly because he is so upset about this situation. He reminds Shiryun that he says he would play with him first before anyone else. However, Shiryun ignores Tae-oh completely and jumps around feeling so happy about the bet they just made. Kong celebrates his victory immediately and waves his hand while saying that it is just one ball to hit. He turns to Tae-oh and promises not to complain if he also bets on this. Tae-oh immediately interrupts and tells him to shut up and asks if he has a problem with food or something. He still insists on competing until the very end no matter what happens. On the other hand, Jiu realizes she forgets her wallet at home. Coach looks at the documents in his hand and says to Ju to thank her for coming here to see director today. He mentions she does not forget to complete this task before going to the training field and it would be better if she tells him earlier about this. She secretly smiles and says it is okay without any problem. Jiu excitedly asks again if this is about the jersey number for uniform production and personal information for the team. Coach confirms that if there were only 1 or 2 pieces of information to be transferred, he would have asked the students already about it. Unconsciously, Coach Suk sighs and his words slow down as he explains that some of them do not stay in the dormitory right now. He mentions the staff on the coaching staff all go to Okinawa for their trip. Coach smiles and praises that he only hears about it from the director, but he does not think the director would have such a beautiful daughter as her. He asks if she is also a student at Mir High School this year as well. Jiu replies yes and says she looks forward to working with everyone here. After speaking, Coach turns to leave and thanks her for coming. However, Jiu has other plans in her heart and thinks her dad only has one daughter, so could someone so beautiful make a mistake like this? Then she walks out of the teaching building slowly. She also likes to walk around and see the school's facilities and thinks she should buy something to eat on the way. Suddenly, Jiu picks up the milk box from earlier and her expression darkens. Because of not having money, she realizes she forgets her wallet. Jiu recalls the previous time when she was still in the convenience store earlier. Nothing can be done now, so she thinks she should probably go back home. Kangi stands at the checkout counter, taunting Tae-oh about how he always acts like he is stopping him from doing things. He immediately frowns and tells Kangi if he already pays, then does not complain about it. Jiu cuts in at the checkout counter and smiles while asking to add this to the order please. Jiu turns to say hello to Tae-oh in a friendly way. Seeing Jiu there, Kangi's eyes immediately light up and he teases that Tae-oh has a girlfriend now. Before he can finish his sentence, Tae-oh rushes over and grabs his shirt and shouts asking what the hell he is saying to everyone. Shiryun comes forward to talk to her and asks who she is exactly. Jiu quickly rubs her hands together nervously and apologizes, saying she will pay everyone back later, so can they add this to everyone's part of the bill. She mentions she also studies at Mir High School with them. Tae-oh patiently asks again who she is supposed to be. Kangi and Shiryun are talking non-stop and say this is the first time they have seen such a girl who is so forward. Suddenly, Jiu interrupts them and reveals her dad is the director of Mir High School's baseball team, which surprises everyone. Seeing that it is not enough information, she smiles and adds that she sees them at the entrance exam for freshmen just now and apologizes because she just forgets her wallet at home. Kanjin and Shiryun rush forward in unison when they realize she is the director's daughter, which changes everything. A moment later, Jiu is holding a piece of bread and eating it deliciously while enjoying the food. At this time, Kanjin turns to ask if her name is Jiu to confirm. Shiryun continues his words and introduces his own name as Shiryun. Jiu looks up and says she knows all their names already. She lists each of their names including Biko, Tae-oh to prove it. Shiryun is still chewing food but cannot help but be curious about how she knows so well about them. Jiu replies comfortably that, anyway, having an excuse to borrow money like this is also an opportunity for her to learn more about everyone on the team. She mentions with a hint of expectation that they are the most anticipated rookies among this year's students at the school. Shiryun puts the rest of the bread in his mouth and asks if she is also interested in baseball as a sport. Jiu becomes excited when she hears about baseball and says a lot that actually her dream is to become a professional baseball agent in the future, which surprises them. Shiryun asks strangely what an agent does exactly. Jiu starts spreading knowledge and explains it is like systematizing the allocation of labor and training of pitchers in professional baseball. She explains they are not able to worry about things like contracts, laws, or health-related issues, and this is the job that helps to take care of everything so the players can focus on playing baseball without distractions. Afterward, Junwoo gets angry at Kanjin, so he goes over to him, but Kanjin feels doubtful and asks what everyone is suddenly getting so angry about right now. Kanjin turns to speak directly to Jaeyoung and apologizes, asking if he feels offended by what is being said. Jaeyoung hesitates and says oh, but Junwoo does not care at all and continues to express his opinion about the situation. He says they come here to play baseball with one final goal in mind. He asks if it would be unfair if they were in the same class as someone who is already really good at baseball. But Kong takes this comment lightly and says well, it is a bit like they are comparing children with different starting points on the same path in life. Hearing that statement, Junwoo immediately exclaims and asks what he means by that. Jaeyoung quickly runs to the rescue and tells them both he is powerless and fine, asking them not to fight with each other. Kong is still smiling brightly and asks really if everything is okay. At the same time, a voice comes in from the door asking what is wrong here. Jaeyoung catches this lifeline and calls out to Shiryun for help. Shiryun wonders why the atmosphere is so tense between everyone in the room. Kong explains with sarcasm that he comes into the dormitory to see them all today. He asks if they do not think they are pretending when they are clearly a roadblock here in his way. Junwoo is clenching his fist tightly and asks pretending what exactly. Shiryun observes the situation carefully and feels concerned about what is happening. He thinks Kanjin and Junwoo are not usually like this at all. Tae also speaks up to remind everyone that arguing is extremely useless right now. He tells them not to waste strength on things that have no purpose and to go for a run instead. Kanjin is now slowly standing up from his seat and says he will take on everything later, so they should not hate him too much for this. He announces he is leaving now and seems to be deliberately saying it for Junwoo to hear clearly. He asks if the seniors will be here the day after tomorrow and says he will come again to play with them. Shiryun speaks up to see him off and tells him to be careful on his way home. And Junwoo has a very long sigh after everything happens. He wonders why he is acting like that too and feels confused. Junwoo finally goes outside by himself and sits alone on the spectator seats looking around. He is looking at his phone intently when he hears someone call his name out loud. Shiryun comes with a flushed face and heavy breathing from running around. He asks if Junwoo is here alone by himself. Junwoo asks him if he is going out for a run again today like usual. Shiryun happily points in another direction and says yeah, telling him to look on the other side of the field. Shiryun is pointing towards the two people who are running enthusiastically below them right now. He comments objectively that it is just like a coach or something similar. He tells Junwoo that he says he is a pitcher too and does not know what will happen, but they should just run together with everyone. While rambling on about this, Junwoo calls his name to stop him. He pauses a bit, and then asks if Shiryun thinks baseball is fun to play. Shiryun feels a little confused by that question and asks why he is asking. Junwoo finds himself ridiculous and laughs, asking what he is even talking about right now. He confirms one thing because everyone is interested in baseball as a sport. He also participates here because it is interesting to him too. He is recruited because he is better than the other players around. He slowly thinks about his dream of playing professionally. As he says before, he once dreams of becoming a pitcher and starts playing baseball for that reason. But what he hesitates about is knowing the skill the team needs from him is batting ability, not pitching at all. Later that night, Mapung Kong is talking to his son on the phone when another coach asks him what he would do if he couldn't go home. Mapung laughs and says he'll see them on the weekend, then tells the coach that he should get married too because at their age, nothing gives more energy than having a family. The coach sighs and says his girlfriend doesn't want to get married. Just then, another coach comes in and asks Mapung Kong for the gym room key because the students want to use it. Mapung hands him the keys, but the red-haired coach tells Coach Ji-hoon to remind the kids not to cause any more trouble. Meanwhile, Sung-do is losing his mind with excitement because he's going to be the captain this year. He then tells everyone to introduce themselves one by one since the training is starting. Everyone begins sharing their introductions, and when it's Taeo's turn, Sung-do thinks that he has the same strong skills and ambition he showed in the first match, so everyone starts looking forward to seeing him play. Just then, another guy named Ki-hyuk speaks up and tells Tae-oh that he's the ace of the team and that he'll recognize him as his partner. Ki-hyuk then asks if Tae-oh a pitcher is, but Tae-oh calmly says that he'll pick the best position he can. After that, the introductions continue, and Kanjin proudly says that he's going to make this school a national champion. Right then, Biko walks in and asks Kanjin if he's really that full of himself. Biko gets angry and tries to punch Kanjin, but Sung-do quickly stops him and yells that no fighting is allowed because they all promise to stay peaceful together. Afterward, Biko and Sung-do start arguing again, but the nerdy guy with glasses tells them that if Coach Gunchul sees them fighting, they'll be in big trouble. Hearing that, Biko stops right away and goes back to his workout, while Sung-do thinks for a moment that maybe they met everyone except one person who didn't come to the dorm yet. Just then, Shiryun raises his hand and says he hasn't introduced himself. He stands up and happily says that he's a pitcher and was recommended by Mapung Kong. He also says that after playing last year, he really wanted to come to this school. Everyone claps for him afterward because he talks so softly. The next morning, the director gathers the team and makes everyone do their exercises together. The director shouts at everyone to run faster and warns that anyone who falls behind will have to do 3 extra sets. Sung-do then teases Kanjin, asking where all his confidence from yesterday went. He also tells Kanjin to forget about his old glory days of playing basketball so smoothly because now he has to face daily baseball training. Meanwhile, the coach pushes Shiryun and Tae-oh to run even faster, and after some time, everyone gets so tired that they collapse on the ground. The The coach gets angry and yells that in professional baseball, there are more than 100 games played each year, so if they can't handle this, how will they survive a schedule with matches almost every day? After resting for a bit, everyone gets back up and starts playing catch again, including De-young and Ryu. Ryu tells De-young that when doing a long toss, he shouldn't throw it in a high curve but keep it as low as possible. Watching this, another player asks if they usually train like that without separating fielders and pitchers. Ryu explains that back in middle school, they all trained together without specific positions, but now that everyone has their own roles, they'll be divided into fielding and pitching groups in the afternoon for more focused training. Later, the director gathers all the students for pitcher fielding practice. He then tells the red-haired coach to start the session and give proper guidance to anyone who still needs to improve their skills. Afterward, Kong tells everyone that they have a practice match this weekend, and if it's against an away high school, they won't be meeting them again in the weekend league. Mapung then asks the director if he plans to push their entry as main members, and the director replies that player registration closes at the same time as admission tomorrow, so he wants to try it without facing any disadvantage. Mapung confidently says that they're definitely going to win, even with a small number of players. As he watches Shiryun practice, Mapung tells the director that his follow-up game looks really strong, but the director explains that while the scouted players are promising candidates, Tae-oh still seems unsure about playing as a catcher. Afterward, everyone just faces and goes through Coach Gunchul's held training sessions together, but despite going through it and enduring the hard work, Gunchul always shouts at them for the slightest mistake they make during practice. Coach Gunchul tells everyone gathered there that baseball isn't just about sweating on the field during a game when people are watching, but it is about working hard and breaking a sweat before the game even starts or begins. He then takes the batter's position himself at the plate so the players can practice more effectively and learn better from watching him. Coach Gunchul ends up striking out several players in a row one after another, and when they start getting tired from all the training, he yells at them. After the morning training session finally ends, everyone heads back to the cafeteria to enjoy their meal. Later, Coach Ji-hoon trains Biko and the others but notices that something seems off with him lately. Coach Ji-hoon points out that Biko's lower body balance isn't right and that he's swinging only with his upper strength. He asks if Biko has been worrying about his low energy during winter training, but Biko quickly says he's fine and has no problems. After that, Coach Ji-hoon explains that when Biko takes his stride, his center of gravity moves forward too early, and that's why his proper swings don't come out consistently. So, he should do it with rotational power and keep using that until his swing follows through properly. On the other hand, Kanjin is also practicing his batting skills and working on getting better. Sungdo tells him and explains that his hitting impact is good and strong, but he needs to pay more attention to his finishing moves because his defense is still lacking and not good enough yet. Kanjin then asks him who his number 4 hitter is in Mir High School, so Sungdo says that he will see it himself when the time comes, as their director likes to put the best players in the front seats, so it is right to put the long hitter in number 4 position. Afterward, when they continue talking, Sungdo says and reveals that the number 4 player they are talking about right now is none other than Biko himself. However, Kanjin then says that if they talk about home run then, Sungdo himself is the best hitter among the seniors. Kanjin then asks who got scouted in the 2nd and 3rd years, so Sungdo explains that the baseball club had just started, and there are only 2 players so far, including himself. Meanwhile, Mapung Kong is teaching Tae-oh some pitching tactics when another boy asks why the new members are separated from Hwan. After that, Mapung Kong shows Tae-oh a 3rd-year pitcher named Yunjin, who has an average throwing speed of 120 kilometers. He's a skilled player who throws a changeup based on a fastball and a cutter. Mapung Kong also points to the tall right-handed pitcher standing next to him and says that his name is Maru. He explains that Maru's fastball goes up to 140 kilometers and he can compete for 1st and 2nd place in terms of speed. Afterward, Mapung Kong asks Tae-oh if Maru seemed like a better match from the outside. He explains that the only thing that takes the lead between the two is gun rate. Afterward, Mapung Kong tells Hyeowon and Ki-hyuk to start pitching, but before that, he asks Hyeowon if he's feeling okay since he has some physical issues. Mapung then explains to Tae-oh that Hyeowon can throw a fastball, curveball, and slider, making him a well-balanced pitcher. Just as Mapung is about to talk about Ki-hyuk, Tae-oh suddenly says that he wants to be their catcher. Then, Ki-hyuk throws a fastball toward him, and Tae-oh easily catches it, noticing that Ki-hyuk's pitching form feels a little different. Next, Ki-hyuk decides to throw a sinking ball, but once again, Tae-oh catches it smoothly, which completely shocks Ki-hyuk. Meanwhile, Shiryun and Hwan are also practicing their pitching, and Shiryun tells Hwan that it's really fun to practice in this new place. But Hwan says he heard that there's still a difference between his 4-seam and 2-seam forms, though it has gotten much better during their vacation. He goes on to say that every pitch should come from a certain form, but for now, Shiryun just needs to focus on doing what he's told and keep following the instructions. Meanwhile, Tae-oh keeps practicing his catching, and Mapung tells the other coach that he might be having a hard time catching because he isn't in good shape. That's exactly what's going on with Tae-oh, since Mapung expected him to easily catch Ki-hyok's ball. The other coach answers that there are actually 2 main reasons why Tae-oh keeps missing catches even when the signals are correct. He explains that when a catcher uses a framing style that doesn't match the pitcher's form or pitch, it causes a kind of mismatch. He also adds that during the game, he noticed Tae-oh's framing once or twice, and it wasn't just a trick to fool the umpire but a real skill he was using. He thinks it's not just about moving his arm, but about getting the timing right when the ball comes in. He also believes that as time goes on, he will keep growing and can handle anything that comes his way. The next day in class, Shiryun tells everyone to take care of him since he might not come to class often anymore because he does sports. Teacher thinks it's really cool and says she'll come to cheer for him later. Then, she calls on Tae-oh, who's sitting behind Shiryun, but he seems lost in his own thoughts about baseball. When he finally introduces himself, he speaks in a cold and short way. The other students tell the teacher that he also plays baseball but doesn't have many friends. After that, it's the turn of the red-haired girl from earlier in the class, and she introduces herself as Jiu to everyone, saying that she wants to work at a sports agency in the future when she grows up. Later on, during the class, Dae-young notices and sees that all the girls of their class start crushing over Kanjin and liking him, so he wonders to himself why he is in the same class as him of all people. After the class ends, Tae-oh and Shiryun head out of the classroom together, and on their way, they notice and see Hwan practicing in the field by himself. Shiryun thinks to himself that he came early to the school to practice first before everyone else arrived. Afterward, Sungdo arrives at the field with new uniforms for all the boys on the team, and then they try it on to see how it fits them. Afterward, when they are getting ready, Kanjin and Biko start arguing over jersey numbers and who gets which one. Afterward, the team gets ready and prepares themselves for their weekend practice game against Wonyoung High School. Afterward, everyone gathers on the ground together, and Sungdo tells them and explains that it has been only 4 years since they are a new team forming. On the other hand, Mapung Kong thinks to himself that the team's morale has risen a lot and gotten much better because of Sungdo and his leadership. Afterward, the practice match begins and starts with the starting pitcher being Sanghan on the mound. However, Coach Gunchul is already yawning and looking bored as he thinks to himself that this is the point of reference for this relative analysis they are doing. However, Mapung tells him and says that he doesn't seem to understand the habit many pitchers have of trying to finish the count too quickly and rushing things. Mapung also thinks to himself that since a lot of these kids transferred from middle school to high school recently, it's already a big achievement to have such a small but solid team that works well together. After that, the match goes on, and Biko gets out easily, which makes Kiko tease him by saying that they might lose because of him. Seeing this, the coaches think that there aren't many strong hitters like Biko, and since he's the 4th batter, it's no wonder the director seems a bit worried about him. Finally, it's Kangin's turn to bat, and when Dae-young sees him, he can't help but feel jealous. Meanwhile, the catcher starts wondering what's going on with the lower batting order and why everyone suddenly seems so focused on it. Then, the pitcher throws the ball, and Kanjin swings hard, hitting a straight shot that flies right past the pitcher. The ball shoots toward the fence, but the defender quickly catches up to it. Just as he tries to throw it back, Kanjin is already sprinting to third base and manages to make it safely. Watching that, the coaches look amazed because Kanjin just pulled off a triple play right after hitting what looked like a home run. After that, the Iron Wall combo, made up of Sungdo and Coach Ah, steps onto the field. A player from the other team thinks that what Mir Hai is doing is completely crazy, because not only are their hits powerful, but their defense and tactics are also amazing. Then, Kyoko throws an incredible pitch that leaves the batter stunned. At the same time, Biko gets ready to pitch, but the coach quickly substitutes him, saying that his swing today isn't like his usual one and that he should focus more on batting practice for now. After that, Tae-oh steps up to bat, and to everyone's surprise, he actually hits the ball, leaving the whole team shocked. Meanwhile, Shiryun notices that Hwan seems to be in pain and is holding his elbow. Afterward, Kanjin goes for batting and the catcher behind him wonders that why is Kanjin still on low tier despite being a god-level pro batter. The pitcher throws the ball straight toward Kanjin, and he swings, hitting it perfectly. At the same time, Tae-oh dashes from second base all the way to home plate. Seeing this, Kong says that putting them in the starting lineup as a test was totally worth it. He also thinks that for a freshman like Kanjin to be placed in the 7th batting spot and still show that kind of performance proves he's a talent who doesn't belong in the lower order anymore. Meanwhile, the coach of Team Wonyoung-hai realizes that Mir-Hai's team has become much stronger than they had expected. However, the coach thinks to himself that even if they have high-level attack power and unique pitchers on their roster, the lack of experience among team members will act as a major weakness for them in games. Due to the bad performance of Mir-Hai during the innings, Wonyoung-hai quickly recovers some of their scores and gets back into the game. Wonjung's pitcher named Maru throws a pitch toward the plate with force, but the ball hits the batter instead of going over the plate where it should go, so their coach tells him and advises him not to be swayed by the other team's defense or feel pressured by what is happening. On the other hand, Mir-Hai's coach tells Junwoo, Jaeung and another guy sitting on the bench to prepare themselves to go in and play soon. Afterward, the match continues and keeps going on the field, and all three of them play like the trashiest batters to exist on the field right now and lose so many points before striking out one after another without success. Afterward, when things settle down, Kong tells Hwan and informs him that he is going on the 8th inning to pitch, and then everyone on the team starts cheering for Hwan loudly and supporting him. Then, Hwan decides to follow his own free will and judgment, and shoots the ball toward the plate, which the catcher easily catches without any problem. Hwan then decides to throw another fastball with more force, which hits the batter's body, and everyone gets shocked by what just happened. Team Wonyoung-hai gets extremely mad and angry because Mir-Hai has hit their players' bodies 2 times now during the game. At that moment right there, Hwan realizes and understands that he is afraid of throwing the ball and losing control again. Afterward, the coach tells Hwan and says to him that if it is still early in the season, he can get back up next time and try again. Afterward, Shiryun walks to the field and enters the game, and Hwan tells him that he owes him this one for helping out. At the end of the 8th inning when things are tense, there's the first and second base occupied with runners, so Mir-Hai changes their pitcher to someone new. The coach of the Mir-Hai school baseball team stands with his arms folded and gives instructions to Shiryun and Ho-chan about their practice match. The coach tells them to focus on keeping their balance while throwing 4-seam fastballs and reminds them not to worry too much because this is just a practice game. Shiryun listens carefully to every word the coach says, paying close attention to the advice about how learning to throw the 4-seam pitch well will help him control the 2-seam ball better in the future. When the coach finishes talking, Shiryun speaks up about some problems he has been noticing lately, mentioning that he has been having trouble with the 2-seam pitch recently. Shiryun remembers watching how opposing teams play and suggests that if they aim at the body of left-handed batters, it will be easier to get strikes, and he wants to try this method since they will face batters like that soon. However, Kong thinks about this idea carefully, while Ho-chan does not say anything against it. The coach asks if Shiryun realizes that throwing the ball the wrong way and losing control could be dangerous, but Shiryun says he does not think that will happen. After thinking everything through completely, the coach asks Shiryun where he usually puts his foot on the pitcher's plate before throwing. Shiryun makes a surprised sound and immediately shows his normal stance, which makes the coach comment that Shiryun has probably been throwing like that all along without really paying attention to it. The coach smiles and approves Shiryun's plan, telling him to forget about the 2 seams and try something new instead. At the same time, another teammate tries to cheer up Biko, telling him not to feel discouraged and reminding him that he is good at defense so he should focus on batting instead. Biko thanks him for the encouragement, but Hwan stays quiet and does not say anything. Nearby, Ki-hyeok is shouting support to Hwan, telling him that everything is okay and that there is still time before the competition starts. Someone shouts words of encouragement, and Shiryun quickly responds, taking a deep breath as his eyes shine brightly in the daylight. He decides he will only throw 4-seam pitches and lift one leg, telling himself to forget his old way and improve it properly. Shiryun throws the baseball without any fear or doubt, and the opposing team's runners start moving fast based on how the ball travels. Before the other team's batter can swing the bat, the ball flies into the catcher's hands, and the referee announces loudly that the runners on second and third base are safe. Another player runs while thinking he does not care anymore because everything feels too chaotic. Someone watches Shiryun's every move quietly and cannot help but say that the spin on his first pitch is not that fast. Shiryun holds his head up high without any worry. Tae-oh goes somewhere else but his mind keeps racing with different thoughts, getting frustrated that they still have a runner on base and Shiryun is not doing a quick motion. Shiryun bends over to get ready for his next pitch, remembering what the coach taught him before the match. The coach explained that when you are a right-handed pitcher, it helps to step onto the pitcher's plate when someone is at third base, but otherwise just throw normally. The coach also said that if the ball spins counterclockwise and you use that as your strength instead of clockwise spin, it becomes much stronger. Soon the ball follows the direction Shuryun throws it and flies up high. The ball flies straight toward the catcher, and dust goes everywhere. A player on the other team stops when he sees where the ball goes. He does not have time to hit the ball back and can only watch as the catcher catches it. Ho-chan feels stunned after catching the ball, and the referee calls out strike. Afterward, Kanjin goes to the coach's office and stands there coldly staring back at the Biko in front of him without showing any emotion at all. Coach cuts off the tense atmosphere between the two people and says he does well today and should come over here right now. He replies emotionlessly that yes, he will come over there. Hang scratches his head and asks if this is not supposed to be a private interview between them. He turns back to Biko and asks if he has anything else to say at this moment. Biko bows his head down and replies no, and he apologizes for intruding on their conversation. Kanjin bids Biko farewell with a word of encouragement telling him to remember to take care of his health properly. Biko turns and leaves silently, passing by Kanjin as he walks out of the room. But before leaving completely, he glares at Kanjin with a menacing look that shows his anger. He looked over just smiling brightly and said thank you for doing a great job in the match today, which was impressive. Hearing those compliments from him, Biko curses inwardly that those are empty words. Meanwhile, Coach asks Kanjin if he is not in the dormitory right now and offers to give him a ride later. He replies with a sincere smile and says yes please, that would be helpful. He changes the subject and asks how the match goes today for him. Kanjin replies that it is fun and he really enjoys it. He then explains in detail that he wants to experience more types of pitches from different players. His stance compared to middle school improves a lot over time. The pitchers he meets today are people who will have many opportunities in the future because they all have quick reflexes and are easy to strike out with their techniques. He is also very confident in his own ability right now. Coach leans back in his chair and sighs, saying they are classmates so no wonder their words are exactly the same when talking. Kanjin feels puzzled and asks what he means by that statement. He explains that he means Biko, who comes earlier and says the same exact thing to him. Biko is determined to improve himself and does exercises before going to bed every night. Kanjin prays, asking to please forget about his slump in form today because next time, he definitely will not let Coach down. Coach meanwhile adds that Biko is a sincere person who never neglects baseball since he is a freshman at school. He must feel impatient seeing his recent stagnation in performance lately. He continues under Kangin's attentive listening and asks if he understands how Biko feels about everything. After all, they two go to the same middle school together before. Biko is a player worth following and learning from carefully. Coach tells Kanjin not to just look at his own skills but to turn what he learns from his seniors into his own weapon for improvement. Coach suggests further that of course, to ensure the performance of the entire team, they will actively recruit more players regardless of what grade they are in. Even if there are many opportunities available, Kanjin will still be ahead of his friends in skill. But because of that advantage, Coach tells him not to be too hasty about things. He should show his own baseball style and techniques. He does not forget to praise Kanjin because he deserves to be a good player with talent. So, if he continues what he is doing right now, it will help nurture his talent in the future ahead. He becomes weird after hearing this praise and says he understands completely. After just a few words of conversation between them, Coach wants to meet someone else on the team. He tells Kong he looks pretty relaxed after the match, so he does not have anything else to say to him. He asks if Kong can call Teo for him to come here. This question makes him ask again if they are done talking now. As Kanjin turns to leave the room, Coach suddenly calls out his name to stop him. He stops and looks back to ask what he needs, but the coach asks some questions about if Kanjin is dating Jiu and how it is going between them. Kanjin feels confused after hearing this question and asks what he means. A moment later, he realizes what the problem is about. Kanjin then laughs and asks if that is the main reason Coach calls him here today. Afterward, Shuryun thinks to himself that his school life is over now after everything that happens. He wonders to himself in the meantime where he is going right now. But as he mentions it, Shuryun in the back also just runs out of school for a break from everything. It is practice time, so he is going to the field for a bit to work on his skills. Immediately, Biko speaks up and tells him to stop what he is doing right now. He innocently turns around and says yes, but what strikes Shuryun's eyes is very surprising. Biko's bulging muscles are threatening him in a scary way. He thinks making his muscles do cardio when preparing to lift weights is really torture for anyone. It is truly rude seeing such a scary appearance in front of him. Shuryun stammers and asks to have mercy on him please. While he is frozen in place, Bijo realizes something else about who this person is. He asks, wait, is this the person he thinks is standing here? Biko's calves tense as he continues to speak to him directly. He says this is the one who overshadows Hyenkong in shining aura and reputation. He tells Shiryun he is a lovable junior to have around. Biko's large figure completely obscures Shiryun standing there in front of him. He asks if he is in Shiryun right again to confirm his identity. Biko flexes his muscles while asking the last question, which causes Shiryun to be terrified of what comes next. He asks if Shiryun wants to practice with him in the gym. Back at school, Tae-oh walks down the hallway with his notebook in hand, reviewing the notes he wrote earlier. He frowns as he realizes there's more to work on than he initially thought, especially the defensive scenarios that need to be applied in future games. Noticing Junwoo ahead, Tae-oh casually asks where he's headed. Junwoo looks confused and replies, asking if Tae-oh isn't with him right now. He thought they were practicing together as usual. Hearing that, Tae-oh pauses, puzzled by what Junwoo means and unsure about the situation. Tae-oh asks for permission to leave, saying he's going to look for Shiryun, who's nowhere to be found. Meanwhile, Shiryun is catching his breath, exhausted as Biko drags him to the gym, where Shiryun slowly lifts weights with one hand. Seeing him manage to push the weight up, Biko praises him for his good form and says he's pretty strong for his size. Then, Biko tells him to give a little more effort and he can do it. While Shiryun is already exhausted from everything, he says that Biko already says that 4 times now. Suddenly, the door is pushed open accompanied by a call asking if someone is there. Shiryun is startled when he sees a familiar face standing there. He thinks to himself to run because it is his friend Tae-oh. Tae-oh says with a troubled expression asking why he is lifting weights right now. He tells Shiryun he wants to catch his pitches instead of this. Biko sees the strange figure and speaks to him, calling him kid. He laughs with interest and says another cute junior is visiting him today. He mentions the match just now is pretty good for a freshman. What catches his eye is the toned pectoral and abdominal muscles that are clearly imprinted under Biko's shirt showing his workout. He looks and secretly admires them, thinking indeed, the muscles are top-notch quality. He thinks the result of hard work is different from natural talent. Biko at that time continues to flex his muscles to show off to everyone watching. As they can see, he is Shiryun's personal trainer right now. He says muscles come first, and pitching is just an accompaniment to that. It is very impolite to bother someone who is training like this in the gym. But this time, Tae-oh is the one who actively shakes hands with him enthusiastically. He asks if Biko can become his personal trainer too like Shiryun. Baekho does not mind agreeing to this request at all. He asks if Tae-oh wants to train with him little bro. He laughs loudly in satisfaction and says this freshman is 1 in a million students. He tells Tae-oh he likes him a lot already. Conversely, Shiryun on this side falls down, panting heavily and thinks he is doomed now. In the evening, the sky turns golden with sunset colors. Min Yuha is walking and talking on the phone with someone special. He says oh, he is back now from practice today. The girl on the other side says again, asking if they can meet for a bit longer next time they see each other. He answers without hesitation that of course they can, and he is sorry he cannot see her more often right now. That girl worriedly instructs him to not overdo it with practice sessions. As he hangs up the phone, he looks up and sees Jiu is already there waiting. Jiu begins to complain about being bombarded with lovey-dovey stuff between them. He says what a lovey-dovey couple they make together. Min Yuha is surprised and asks if he hears that conversation just now. He tells Jiu not to look at his senior with such judgmental eyes. He puts his arm around Jiu's shoulders as they walk together. Jiu says he will have to focus more on this year's schedule, and Min Yuha is so carefree, doing superfluous things like dating someone. Min Yuha smiles brightly when he hears such nagging from his friend. He teases that Jiu is as jealous as a kid would be. Jiu denies this accusation and asks what he is talking about. Min Yuha changes the subject and says nothing new is happening. He sighs and replies asking what is new in days like this anyway. Jiu remembers something to tell him about what happened today. He mentions it has been a long time since he saw Biko so happy about anything. Min Yuha feels a little surprised and asks why Biko is happy. Jiu continues explaining that he is practicing with 2 freshman students. He must be working hard with them in training. Min Yuha comments after hearing this that is unexpected from Biko. Jiu states his own opinion that he feels bad for those freshman players. On the other hand, Kanjin and Hwan are having an argument and Kanjin decides to give him a challenge. Hearing the disguised challenge from him, Hwan glares and asks back what he just says to him. Hwan wonders face to face what he comes here for today. Kanjin replies that he does not come to cause trouble with him or anything like that. Hwan then says in a subtle way that he must have misunderstood the situation. He says with a smile that he has to try harder in the future to get better. Hwan seriously interrogates him, asking how he knows that he has an injury on his body. He asks who tells him about this private information. Kanjin does not hide anything from him and says no one tells him. He explains that his pitching posture is very beautiful and not pretentious at all when he throws. But his face is different from how he pitches, and he describes it as a face haunted by utter disappointment and sadness. Then Kanjin concludes that is when he wonders if Hwan is injured somewhere. Hwan feels somewhat calmer after hearing this explanation. He thinks he cannot ignore this feeling inside him anymore. He finally rolls up his sleeve, revealing a scar on his elbow to show. Hwan says he had elbow surgery last year, and now he is in the final stage of rehabilitation from it. He says he is almost completely cured, but he insists that he still cannot throw the best strike yet. Hearing that statement, Kanjin seems not to believe what he hears. He says no way is possible. After that, he leaves and reminds Kanjin why he cares about this. He tells him to focus on his own work instead, but Kong continues to make surprising remarks to him. As a recruited student, he just wants to support him in recovery. He also says to please come back soon to the team. If Hwan needs him, he will come back to this spot. Hearing such words from him, Hwan turns around and looks back at Kanjin. He asks a direct question about if Kanjin thinks he can lead the team to victory. Kanjin is not afraid to answer and asks so what if he can. Hwan then explains the burden of self-blame that comes with it. He warns that one day Kong will be caught by this burden. He kindly instructs him, just like he is choosing dating partners based on their characteristics, he should not do that anymore with baseball. He turns away and puts on his hat while continuing to say to himself that he thinks Kanjin is something, but he also talks too much. While observing Hwan carefully, Kanjin thinks if they go to the national tournament together, it would be fun to compete. Meanwhile, Jiu asks Shiryun if he ever hears of the 5 major high school baseball tournaments before. He ponders and replies that he guesses so and names them. There is the Golden Lion, Blue Dragon Flag, President's Cup, and Association Tournament. And she adds one more thing, which is the Phoenix Cup. Shiryun immediately realizes and says alright, he forgets that one. Jiu then explains here the Golden Lion and Blue Dragon are the first half of the national tournament season. She says the President's Cup and Association Tournament are classified as the second half of the season instead. Jiu continues to explain that weekend leagues are also divided into 2 halves just like the tournaments. She mentions the first and second half like the national tournament structure. She continues explaining that the baseball team will study and train on weekdays at school. Talking about the next thing, she says on weekends, regional tournaments will be held separately in each territory across the country. Jiu summarizes that it is called the Weekend League because they will participate in the tournament on weekends only. Shiryun also contributes to the explanation by saying based on the ranking of the Weekend League, the national tournament they participate in will also change accordingly. After hearing their explanations about everything, Shiryun looks dejected and says yeah, it is really complicated to understand. She takes off her school bag to show an example in the first half. Then she takes out a piece of paper with a printed table on it. Shiryun wonders what that paper is supposed to show them. Gu says this is the competition schedule divided by region for the first half of this year's Weekend League season. Kihyuk shouts again with excitement that this valuable information has not even appeared on the official website of the association yet, as expected from their beautiful and talented manager. Jiu extinguishes the fire coming from his mouth by saying it is available today, old man, so calm down. She meticulously explains each cell on the paper to them. She says anyway, their school is matched with other schools in the same region. Each region will have 7 to 8 teams and they will face each other in turn to divide the rankings properly. She explains based on that ranking they will decide to participate in the Golden Lion or Blue Dragon tournament. She calculates this also depends on each territory, but even-numbered rankings will participate in the Golden Lion tournament. She says odd numbers will participate in the Blue Dragon instead, so they understand now. Shiryun asks then they plan to enter the same weekend league in the second half to decide whether to participate long-term in the President's Cup and Association tournament. Jiu replies that it is right and it is easy to understand now. The next day, everyone gathers on the field with their parents to show respect for the upcoming year. The team members even prepare some food and drinks for the event. Temu, who acts like a copy of Goku, quietly tells Daeyoung that Taeo's family is also there. After that, everyone bows and shows their respect, then starts eating and having fun together. The students happily dig into their KFC chicken, which seems to have been brought by Shiryun's family. After that, Sungdo decides to show off a little in front of everyone's parents, so he steps forward and introduces himself confidently. He tells everyone that it might sound a bit strange, but their goal for this year is to win the national championship. Hearing that, everyone starts cheering and celebrating together. Shiryun's mom watches them and realizes that this must be the real reason Shiryun wanted to come here, the dedication and passion everyone has. Later, one of the coaches walks up to Shiryun's father and invites him to talk over a cup of coffee. During their talk, the coach hands some money back to him, saying that he had given too much compared to the other parents. The coach says that such a big amount of money is a burden for everyone and that it should usually just be 1 or 2 bills. But Shiryun's dad tells him to keep the money, saying he wants to show support for his son in a way he couldn't before. However, the coach takes only a small part of the money and gives the rest back, saying it wouldn't be fair if the kid's future was affected by this kind of money issue. He explains that sometimes parents get the wrong idea because of different incidents and rumors. Later that afternoon, after everyone finishes training, Shiryun thinks back to when he first started lifting weights with Biko. Back then, his throws didn't have much power, but now he feels like he really does have strength behind the ball. Afterward, the coach calls everyone for an advance meeting where he says that the first opponent in 2 consecutive matches this weekend was Chungai High School, the next one is to join Wonho High School. The coach even tells everyone that the person that they should look out for at Chungai High School is the ace Taekyun. He even explains that tomorrow's starting pitcher is Jinyul and the starter for the day after tomorrow is Kihyuk. The coach then takes out a sheet of paper that has all the starting positions and the batting order for tomorrow's match written on it. He hands it to Biko and tells him to pass it around to everyone. But when Biko looks at the paper, he's completely shocked. It turns out that his name is also on the list, even though everyone thought he would be left out of the selection this time. The next day, all the players arrive at the stadium and among them is Taekyun from Chungai High School, who has also come to watch the game. Some people at the stadium look at Kanjin and think to themselves that he is Mir High's current leader on the team, and other pro-team scouts are already targeting him and watching his performance closely. Moreover, he has been bombing the league since practice matches started happening, but they wonder and question if this freshman will be able to join the ranks of level monsters across the country who play baseball. Afterward, the match begins and starts with Miho going for batting first and Sungdo as batter number 2 in the lineup. The starting pitcher is Yunjin, who is on the mound, who then throws the ball toward the plate, but it gets hit and results in a foul ball. The batter is confused and surprised to see the pitcher's style, thinking to himself that the velocity is not fast or overwhelming, but it's good enough to throw around with an exquisite course and precise control. On the other hand, Sungdo tells Ryu that a sacrifice bunt is coming, so he shouldn't worry too much about the runner in front since the batter will be out no matter what. Then, Yunjin throws the pitch, and just like Sungdo said, the batter goes for a bunt. Ryu reacts quickly and throws the ball straight to Biko to get the out. Meanwhile, the opposing team's director observes that their starting pitcher isn't particularly fast, but his control over the ball is really good. He thinks it shouldn't be too hard to attack, yet everyone's swings keep falling apart because they're trying too hard to win too quickly. The match continues and another batter gets a strike as he thinks that the ball comes in a straight line and then rapidly cuts into the body. Finally, the first inning ends, and it's Mir High's turn to bat. Mapung feels a bit confused because Taekyun isn't the starting pitcher today, but the coach explains that the ace could come in at any moment since he's only being used as an opener for now. After that moment, Miho steps up to bat for Mir High and hits a clean shot right away as soon as he gets to the plate and is ready. Next up, it's Sungdo's turn to bat at the plate, but he misses the ball on his first swing and doesn't make contact. Meanwhile, the coach thinks to himself and considers that the number 2 spot in the batting order isn't meant for resting with a bunt move, as it's a position that should have the highest scoring potential out of everyone on the team. Sungdo then manages to hit a long shot into the field, and not only that, but he also runs fast to get some more points and does a timely double base hit. Afterward, it's finally the turn for Kanjin to get on the field and bat, which everyone watching is so curious about and excited to see. After that, Kanjin ends up with 1 ball and 1 strike, and the catcher starts wondering if this is the new student everyone's been talking about, the one said to be the best at Mir High these days. Meanwhile, the pitcher looks at Biko, thinking that he's the 4th hitter. He remembers seeing him during the last Winter League and recalls how sluggish he seemed back then. The pitcher then winds up and quickly throws the next pitch at Kanjin, but Kanjin doesn't swing his bat, making the count 3 balls and 1 strike. The others start wondering if it will be hard to expect any solid hits in this game, but they also think that the pitcher might get nervous if someone shows that kind of open confidence and pressure. Meanwhile, Mapung Kong asks the coach if he's planning something big, and the coach replies that Kanjin already has a great sense for hitting, so there's no need to give him any unnecessary or complicated instructions. He then adds that this is the kind of baseball game he enjoys watching, the kind where everything flows naturally and the connection between each play feels smooth and real. 3 years ago in the past, someone told Biko in middle school about a genius kid who got a lot of attention in Little Baseball and was getting famous. The kid turns out to be Kanjin, who is angry at Biko's friend for trash talking about him and saying bad things. Biko used to think to himself that Kanjin didn't get along with anyone around him, nor did he train with the team during practice, so he started to get worried about what kind of negative impact it would have on his team's lives in the future ahead. Later on, during the game, Kanjin misses hitting a ball that is thrown at him, which excites the team members watching him. However, they couldn't catch the speed and reaction properly, and it turns out Kanjin did manage to hit the ball easily after all. Soon after that incident happened, everyone started bullying him and treating him badly because they were jealous that he was playing good baseball despite not training much with everyone else on the team. Afterward, Biko finds him alone and tries to console him and make him feel better, but Kanjin gets cold and distant, and calls him ugly to his face, saying that he doesn't need anyone's help at all. Biko tells him and explains that the kids hate him because he isolates himself from others and doesn't try to fit in. Back in the present time now, Biko wonders to himself that he doesn't know how many more at-bats he will get in this game, but the coach gave him the last chance to prove himself. Afterward, the pitcher throws the ball toward the plate, so Biko quickly hits it with his bat, and at that moment right there, Sungdo and Kanjin quickly run from their bases. However, Biko seems a bit slow in his running, and then it gets called a double-out play. After that, Biko feels disappointed for wasting his only good chance to make a solid connection with the ball, but the coach tells him to keep his head up during the game and not let it bring him down. Then, Manhwa and Ryu head out to the field since it's finally their turn to bat. The pitcher throws the first ball toward Manhwa, but he misses the swing and starts wondering if the team has some kind of play planned. The pitcher winds up again and throws another pitch, and this time Manhwa decides to swing. The ball flies high through the air but ends up landing like a foul. The people watching the game think to themselves that this batter's physique seems small and not very big, as usually a cleanup trio is important for long hitting power and strength. Another guy standing nearby says and mentions that there are many strong players among mere high hitters on the team, so they also assume and guess that he might be good at hitting as well despite his size. Meanwhile, at the plate, Manhwa thinks to himself that there is no point in throwing a ball out of the outfield by pumping it with force and power alone. So, he decides to hit the ball towards the ground instead of the air, and then the ball goes straight towards a defender on the field and bounces off after hitting his glove hard. Afterward, when the inning continues, the other team decides to do a quick replacement with their pitcher on the mound to change things up. Afterward, Taekyun is the one who will be pitching for them now, and Mir Hai's coach thinks to himself that it is an unusual pitching operation if the weekend league rankings have been decided to some extent already. The coach then tells Ryu and instructs him that unlike Manhwa's approach, he has to aim for long hits instead, and it's okay to steal bases, if necessary, as well during the play. Meanwhile, at the same time, Teo goes to Biko and asks him if he is alright and feeling okay, because there is something he felt while watching his swing during his at-bat. On the other hand, over at the plate right now, Ryu is on the field ready and prepared to hit the fastball that is coming toward him from the pitcher. Instead of throwing a fastball like expected, Taekyun throws a weird curve ball that goes straight into the catcher's hand behind the plate. Seeing that pitch happen, Ryu wonders and thinks to himself that Taekyun's breaking ball is a slider or a curve, but there might be something else that was so wide and slow moving through the air. Afterward, Taekyun throws another ball toward the plate, but it's not a slider or a curve ball this time, instead it's a fastball now coming at him. Afterward, Taekyun throws another ball at the plate, and Ryu gets a strikeout call. That's when Ryu realizes and understands that the last ball is his own special curveball pitch. Meanwhile, Taekyun's teammates tell him and say to him to play like that until the 9th inning is over, but their director yells at them loudly and angrily. He says and explains to them that they need more than that from him, and in the first place originally, Taekyun was trying to adjust the number of pitches to send to tomorrow's game that is coming up. However, Taekyun tells the director and says to him that he likes his condition today and how he is feeling, so he wants to throw longer than they planned initially. However, the director tells him and warns him not to get ahead of himself and be too confident, because if it is really for the team's benefit, he should save as many pitches as possible for later games. The director wonders himself that he wants to keep Taekyun playing on the mound, but he can't help it and has no choice because the number of pitches pitched by pitchers affects the next pitch and their performance later. Afterward, Mir Hai's team outs another player from Taekyun's team during the play, so their director tells the team and instructs them to put everyone in because they need to make a firm stand on the selection early in the game. Afterward, it's the second inning now, and the 6th batter also gets out at the plate, and seeing that happen right there, Ho-chan realizes and understands that most hitters will look down on pitchers who don't have fast velocity on their pitches, but this is the true value of skillful pitchers who know what they are doing. He even thinks to himself that if they keep going like this at this pace, then he thinks they can throw at least 6 innings or more. Afterward, the batter gets 2 fouls constantly one after another at the plate. Seeing that situation unfold, the other team's director thinks to himself that if the pitcher's annoyance continues like this, then they need to choose one of the 2 options available, which is to send it out as a walk or boldly throw the game number in the middle of the zone. Afterward, the pitcher throws the ball toward home plate, and this time the batter manages to hit it successfully with his bat, so then they get double score for their team. However, after that hit happens on the field, the batter gets continuous fouls on the following pitches thrown to him at the plate. Seeing that happening on the field in front of them, Mapung says and mentions out loud that it's the 32nd pitch already being thrown, and their number of pitches increased a lot compared to the first inning they played earlier. Afterward, it's Mirhai's turn for batting now, and they are facing issues and struggling because of the other team's pitches and their difficulty. Seeing that situation happening with his players, Mirhai's coach says and explains that in the early stages of the game right now, the batters have no choice but to deal with it and adjust to the pitching. It turns out, the pitcher is none other than Taikyan himself, who is ready to destroy every batter that comes in his way. After that, one of the players from Mir High School suddenly does a surprise bunt because the director had told him earlier to go for it if the ball seemed tough to hit. Seeing this, the players on the other team are completely caught off guard, and their catcher says he never expected them to pull off a bunt like that out of nowhere. However, Taikyan tells him that their next batter is the team's number 1 hitter, so they need to stay alert because this one will come out way more aggressive than they think. Then, Taikyan throws the ball toward the plate, but the batter doesn't swing and just lets it pass. Seeing that, the batter figures out and realizes that this is a slow curveball, and the 2 timings come in slowly to the plate, so he has no choice but to guess what is coming next. Afterward, it's the 3rd change of offense and defense in the game now, and the director asks Taikyan and questions him if he is paying attention to the number of pitches he is throwing today. He says and tells him that if he wants to pitch tomorrow in the next game, the maximum number of pitches today is 45 throws, but if he still feels like throwing more, he can just do it 5 more times. Afterward, the pitcher from Mir High School throws a foul ball on purpose because he has no intention of letting him hit the ball cleanly and get on base. Afterward, the pitcher throws an extremely fast low and faster cutter pitch toward the plate, but the ball breaks the batter's bat into pieces as it touches it and makes contact. Meanwhile, at the same time, Mapung Kong tells the coach and informs him that they are also slowly measuring the timing of replacements for the pitchers, but the coach tells him and instructs him to prepare themselves to make changes soon. Afterward, the score gets tied by 2-2 on the scoreboard, and the opponent team starts celebrating it with excitement and energy on their side. After that, Biko walks up to Jianyul and admits that it was his fault for not being able to catch the ball. Just then, the coach comes over to check on Jianyul, but Jianyul quickly says that he can still keep pitching. He tells the coach that he wants to help out and lessen the load on the other pitchers for tomorrow's game. Hearing that, the coach decides to trust him, and both Biko and Sungdo feel fired up again. Then, the match goes on with another batter from the opposing team, but Jianyul throws such a fast pitch that it hits the plate and bounces high into the air, making Ho-chan rush forward to catch it. In the end, Ho-chan manages to catch the ball easily and saves it from getting a foul. Afterward, 6th batter arrives from the other team and Sungdo is excited because everyone is giving all they have got. Jianyul then throws the ball and surprisingly the batter hits it, but Sungdo jumps straight towards the ball and manages to catch it. Afterward, Sungdo quickly throws the ball to the base and all 3 people including 1 batter and 2 runners get out. Seeing that, Biko is shocked by what just occurred, but Jianyul tells Biko and says to him that he also did a great catch out there on the field. Jianyul then tells him and instructs him to hit this inning well, although they can prevent a run-in from happening because they can't give them a score and let them advance. Afterward, it's Mir Hai's turn for batting now at the plate, and just as Taikyan heads to the field to pitch for his team, his director tells him and warns him that he has to keep his spirits strong this inning especially and stay focused, because the batters coming up are Kanjin and Sungdo, who are dangerous hitters. Afterward, we get a flashback of Kanjin and Biko where Biko asks him and questions him why he likes to play baseball so much. So, Kanjin replies and answers that it's because he is good at it naturally, and baseball is the best thing he can do with his abilities, and that's the reason why it was hard to find anything more fun than it in his life. Kanjin asks Biko if he ever watched baseball on TV before, so Biko replies and says that he doesn't want to watch other people having fun playing, because he also wanted to become a player who could hit such a great shot himself. The next day after their talk, Biko tells Kanjin that he should join some extra practices for a while since the tournament is coming soon, and surprisingly Kanjin agreed to do it with him. Seeing them together like that, others get jealous and wonder to themselves if they both became super close with each other now. Starting that day, Biko and Kanjin became good friends and they used to run and help out each other. However, one day, Biko gets scolded by the coach, who tells him that his performance in games hasn't been good since the summer, and even today, he isn't playing well at all. The coach then goes on to scold the whole team, saying that Kanjin is doing great, so they should be motivated while watching him instead of showing such terrible plays. Later that night, Biko stays behind to train even harder and tells Kanjin to head home without him. The next day, the players receive a list showing their competition positions, and to Biko's surprise, he finds out that while he has always been the fourth batter, he's now been moved down to the sixth position. After that, Biko keeps spending his time training even harder, but then Kanjin walks up to him and tells him that he's still too slow because he only aims for big swings. Kanjin suggests that he should change his swing and focus more on making clean contact instead. He explains that it's not that difficult to hit if he pays attention to how the wind affects the ball, and surprisingly, it can even help the hit go farther. But Biko shakes his head and says that not everyone is a genius like Kanjin, and if it were really that easy, he would have fixed it a long time ago. He then adds that he doesn't have natural strength, so if he doesn't go for big swings, he can't pull off those powerful hits at all. Hearing that, Kanjin suggests that Biko should try changing his style completely since hitting long shots isn't the only thing that shows real talent. But Biko shakes his head and says that he has his own dream, and he'll reach it in his own way. Kanjin starts to explain what he means, but before he can finish, another guy steps in and tells Kanjin not to bother Biko. He says that grades are important this year, and it's not easy to change the style that Biko has been keeping for so long. However, Kanjin replies that he wouldn't know unless he actually tries, and that comment makes the guy angry. He then grabs Kanjin by the collar and holds him tightly, but Biko tells them and orders them to stop fighting right now, as he can't stand it when the team falters and falls apart before the tournament even starts. Later in the tournament when it happens, Biko is excited and happy because he hit a long run during his at-bat, but then he realized and understood that he has only 2 base runs and not more than that. Afterward, Biko sees Kanjin hitting a long shot into the outfield and gets a reversal 3-run homer for the team. Then, the middle school director favored Kanjin because of his performance and how well he played, which made everyone jealous and upset about the attention he was getting. After that day passed by, Biko practiced even harder than before with more dedication and determination, so that he can stand next to him or even match shoulder to shoulder with Kangin's skill level someday. Afterward, they have another match in which Kanjin again shines with his batting and hitting ability, but the catcher of that match thinks to himself that the Kanjin is lacking here in some areas, and it seems that his experience of wielding a bat still lacks and needs improvement. Afterward, Kanjin hits an insane shot that goes flying into the air and shocks Biko completely, but at the end of the play, the defender manages to catch it in his glove successfully. After that, Biko asks Kanjin if he's not feeling like himself today since his performance doesn't seem as good as usual. Kanjin replies that he's just been unlucky, but his condition is fine. However, Biko points out that their current score is 5-3, and this inning is their last chance to attack, so if they work together, they might be able to turn things around. He then raises his voice, saying that Kanjin only hit 1 sacrifice fly in his 3rd at-bat today, which was basically nothing, and if he doesn't feel like playing seriously, he might as well get off the base. However, Kanjin remains silent and doesn't say much, and just tells Biko to trust him as he won't let the game end like this without trying harder. Afterward, Kanjin goes to the field to bat at the plate, and this time when the pitcher throws a ball toward him, Kanjin misses the shot completely, and realizes that the pitcher just changed the ball type on him. Afterward, the pitcher throws another ball at him again, but this time around, Kanjin manages to hit the ball with his bat, but at the end of the game, Kangin's team gets easily defeated by the opponents. Biko felt bad and disappointed because his condition was at its peak that day, and if Kanjin had taken his advice seriously, he wouldn't have more regrets about losing the game. Later in the locker room after the match, Biko yells at Kanjin loudly for ignoring his instructions during the game, and that he should give someone else a chance to play instead. However, Kanjin asks Biko if he really doesn't believe in him, saying that compared to their school's overall ability, they still managed to achieve great results together. Hearing that, Biko snaps and yells at Kanjin, saying that he's only playing baseball out of pride and reminding him that their last tournament was something they fought for under their middle school's name. Just then, one of Biko's friends comes over and tells him that the director wants to see him, so Biko leaves. Back in the present, Kanjin manages to land a clean hit and then it's Biko's turn to step up to the plate. However, Biko hits 2 fouls in a row, and on the third pitch, the catcher signals Taekyun to throw a curveball this time. After that, Taekyun throws the ball, and this time Biko manages to hit it easily, but the second pitch ends up as another foul. Earlier, Biko had asked Tae-oh what he wanted to tell him, and Tae-oh said he was just curious why Biko always insists on going for a full swing every single time. He also told Biko that with his strong build, he should handle things differently when his performance feels off, like it has been lately. Back in the present, Taekyun throws a fastball and Biko swings with all his strength, smashing the ball so hard that it flies straight out of the field. After that, everyone is shocked to see that Biko actually managed to defeat Chungai High's ace pitcher, Taekyun. Sungdo looks at him in disbelief and asks if he really just did that, saying that his muscles seem perfectly in sync with his form now. Then, Biko turns to Kanjin and mentions that his batting vision has really improved since middle school, asking if it's because of the advice he gave him back then. Kanjin smiles a little and says that he only thought the team needed something like that to win, so he just went with it. Meanwhile, Chungai High's director wonders to himself if they were hastening too much and rushing things during the game. He wonders and thinks that Taekyun, who was so cautious and careful, was chased by the number of pitches he threw, and this is the result that they got in the end. So, he feels sorry for Taekyun and guilty, thinking to himself that it's all because of his own foolishness and mistakes, and that he needs more experience himself as a coach. On the other hand, Jiu, who was recording the match and taking notes, thinks to herself that it was an amazing game to watch and observe. The next game that is scheduled to be played is between Wonho High vs Jangjin High on the field. Afterward, both teams' directors thank each other for the great game. The director of Chungai tells Wonho's coach that Mir High has a lot of talented players, and he's looking forward to meeting them again at the national competition. Shiryun feels happy that even with an ace like Taekyun against them, their team won, so he also plans on playing an active part in the team as soon as possible. On the other hand, 2 guys watching didn't expect much from it because it was a weak team game they thought, but it was a pretty fun match for them to see. One of them then asks the other person that Mir High is pretty good as a team, as everyone did their part in the match and contributed well. They think to themselves that Biko especially did a great job by hitting a huge home run shot, and his duo with Kanjin was pretty good as well during the game. Later that afternoon, when things calm down, the coach goes to his office room, where Jiu tells him and says that she is not going home yet because she wants to congratulate him on his first win of the season. Jiu then wonders and asks him if he is planning on sending Tae-oh as a starting catcher in tomorrow's match that is coming up. The next day in the morning, Jiu arrives at the stadium to watch the match that is about to begin, but she then finds her class teacher also there to watch the match as well. The teacher then says and mentions that when she asked all the students if they were going to watch the match happen, none of them said anything, and now here she is at the stadium. Jiu replies and explains that she usually goes to another school's game for power analysis and scouting, but today specifically, she wants to see how they can handle the opponents they are facing. The teacher then introduces her niece, who is sitting beside her in the stands, saying that her name is Yoonju, and she is a year older than Jiu, who studies in the same school as her. After a while of traveling, everyone arrives at the stadium together, and Shiryun is worried about the prestigious class like Wonho High School and their reputation. Wonho High is also known as the Tiger Corps and as a traditional strong tiger team representing Gyeonggi-do in the region. They are also being evaluated as not being as good as they used to be years ago, because they haven't won a championship for several years now and are declining. Afterward, Ki-hyuk says and claims that they are not a match for someone like him to face, but Sungdo scolds him for losing his mind and being too confident. Just then at that moment, a member of Wonho High arrives at the field and asks if their team is in a position to say such things like that, as in last year's weekend league tournament, they also lost to them badly. Afterward, the guy extends his hand forward to shake, but just as Sungdo reaches out to grab it, he takes it back quickly, saying that they will destroy Mir High in the game. The guy's name is revealed to be Horyong, who also participated in the youth national team at the 2018 World Championships where Korea won the tournament. On the other hand, Jiu tells her teacher and informs him that Tae-oh will be the starter for today's match coming up, but Jiu wonders and questions why he got selected for this important game. First of all, since he is a freshman player, they don't have enough data about him and his abilities, so the play will be variable and unpredictable during the match. Afterward, the coach says and announces that Tae-oh will be sent out to play instead of Ho-chan for this game. The pitcher named Solchan from Wanho High arrives on the field and takes his position, and the batter comes from Mir High, who notices and sees that the catcher signaled a fastball is coming his way. The pitcher then throws a strong fastball with force, and it goes straight into the catcher's hand behind the plate perfectly. Afterward, the batter manages to hit the ball with his bat and makes contact, but due to Wanho team's best defense, which is also top 3 in the country overall, they manage to block it and make the out successfully. Afterward, Jiu sees her teacher's niece drawing a picture of a player, and it turns out to be really good. Meanwhile, Kanjin hits an incredible home run that flies straight out of the field. Seeing that, the teacher asks Jiu if players can really pull that off in such a big arena. Jiu thinks to herself that Wanho High's ace can't pitch today because he went over the pitch limit yesterday, but the pitcher who's up now still seems strong enough to fight back. After that, Biko strikes out, and the inning ends. The Wanho team players start talking about their losses and the game they just had, and one of the members apologizes to Horyong for this loss they experienced, but he tells him and reassures him to throw well as he leads the team forward. Afterward, it's Mir High's turn for defending on the field now, and the pitcher is none other than Kihyuk, and the catcher is Tae-Oh, who is starting it off for them. From Wanho High's lineup, their first batters are Juwon and Juho coming up to the plate. Seeing them step up, Tae-Oh gives a signal to Kihyuk to do a sinker pitch, as it's a newly added pitch to his arsenal, so it won't be in the power analysis yet for the other team. Afterward, Kihyuk throws a sinker ball which goes straight to Tae-Oh's glove, and the batter wonders to himself if it has sunk down, or if it was a mistake throw. On the other hand, a coach asks the head coach and questions him that he can't believe he sent Tae-Oh as a starter early in the season. Turns out, Tae-Oh has problems in communication with other players, but the head coach thinks and believes that they have to overcome this challenge eventually. Meanwhile, the batter from Wanho High hits the ball hard, and it goes towards Kanjin, who smiles at it confidently, as he knows that he can easily catch it without any trouble. However, the ball hits his gloves and bounces off onto the ground instead of being caught. At the same time during this play, the batter manages to reach and be safe on second base successfully. Tae-Oh realizes and understands that it wasn't a very good hit by the batter, but the ball was lighter than usual when it came to him, so he wonders to himself if he still doesn't feel good about his condition. On the other hand, Horyong thinks to himself that Kanjin hits home and runs well and with power, but his defense is still lacking and needs a lot of work. Afterward, the match continues and keeps going, and this time because of Tae-Oh's good catching, they manage to out one of the batters successfully at a base. Afterward, Wanho's legendary trio named Hae Sol, Horyong and Coach arrive and step up for batting positions at the plate. Afterward, the teacher asks Jiu and questions her if she sees that small kid from Wanho team playing right now. Jiu thinks to herself that if the twin keystone combination supports a stable defense for them, the remaining infielders are placed in a cleanup trio responsible for the axis of attack and offense. Afterward, Hae Sol from Wanho team goes for batting and steps up to the plate, and seeing him there, Tae-Oh thinks to himself that it seems like there is a sense of danger coming from this player. Kihyuk, who is standing on the mound, throws the ball toward home plate, but Hae Sol swings and misses, acting like it doesn't bother him at all. This makes Tae-Oh wonder if that's even possible since both of Kihyuk's pitches bounced in strange ways. Meanwhile, from the dugout, Wanho's coach watches closely and thinks that Sol is the best hitter in their school right now, and that sooner or later, he's going to hit every single pitch that comes his way. Afterward, Tae-Oh catches the ball, and the count goes to 2 strikes. He thinks it's a good count since the pitch isn't one that falls in the middle like before. Then Sol hits a long fly ball, and the other runners start sprinting to score. Finally, Horyong comes up to bat. When Kihyuk throws the first pitch, Horyong doesn't swing and thinks that after checking the outside pitch, he'll hit the next one. Then, Kihyuk throws another ball, and this time Horyong hits a clean shot that passes right by Sungdo. Seeing this, Mir High's coach thinks to himself that Kihyuk still has the same problem of bad pitching when he doesn't adjust early in the game, but he also wonders if Tae-Oh isn't able to guide him properly. After that, Tae-Oh walks over to Kihyuk and tells him that the course is going well as they planned, but unlike usual, his last pitch wasn't good, so they couldn't do anything about it. Kihyuk gets really mad and tells Tae-Oh not to blame him. He says Tae-Oh should look at things more openly and just give him a clear signal. Tae-Oh stays calm and says the sinker isn't in the power analysis data yet, so it's better to mix it up and throw it once with a normal pitch. He adds that he understands what Kihyuk means but tells him to keep his opinion quiet. The game goes on, and Tae-Oh gives Kihyuk a sign, but Kihyuk decides to do it his own way. The ball hits Tae-Oh's glove and bounces off, making everyone think he missed the catch. However, Tae-oh wonders if Ki-hyuk read the sign wrong, as they can't possibly do that during the game. Afterward, Tae-oh gives him another sign to throw a fastball, and then he throws the ball, which the batter then hits it and gets a home run along with 2 extra runs. Afterward, Horyong starts praising Dongjae for hitting such a great shot, but Dongjae, who is not so familiar with these compliments, feels weird. Tae-oh hears them and thinks that he didn't even misread the sign like Ki-hyuk did, and he even throws twice in a row. Afterward, the coach calls over Tae-oh and Ki-hyuk and asks Ki-hyuk if there is a problem, but he says that it isn't. However, Tae-oh asks Ki-hyuk why he decided to ignore his signs. Hearing that, Ki-hyuk gets mad at Tae-oh and starts yelling that the throw combination that he does, who doesn't know the value of this body, is not good. The coach then tells them to shut up and asks Ki-hyuk if that how he treat his junior as their senior. Tae-oh asks Ki-hyuk if he is planning to play the entire baseball game all by himself and wonders if playing baseball in such a lonely way is actually fun for him at all. After that, the coach gives Ki-hyuk some important advice and tells him to take his time and carefully lure the ball instead of going for a risky count game, and since he already showed everyone his sinker pitch, he should think about adding that pitch to his choices and use it when he needs to. The coach also explains to him that there is no game scheduled for tomorrow and the pitching staff is on standby right now, so Ki-hyuk does not need to worry or stress about how many pitches he throws in this game today. After the coach finishes giving this advice, the baseball match keeps going and continues on, with the batters from Mir High School hitting several good shots and managing to score and gain points for their team as the game goes on. Meanwhile, the coach and Mapung-kang talk about Tae-oh and Ki-hyuk's communication problems and how they haven't been interacting much. The coach says that he should have guided them better and wonders who he should bench so neither of them feels humiliated. Hearing that, Mapung walks over to Ki-hyuk and tells him they'll make a replacement starting this inning, which immediately makes Ki-hyuk angry. However, Mapung-kang then mentions and says that the coach is trying to make sure their team's ace pitcher gets to throw the ball when he is feeling his absolute best and is in top condition, and hearing this makes Ki-hyuk really happy and excited, so he makes up his mind and decides that he is going to play no matter what happens. After this, Shiryun walks out to the field to pitch in place of Ki-hyuk instead, and Tae-oh tells Shiryun that they should go ahead and try using a two-seam fastball for this situation. When the bottom of the third inning starts, Horyong steps up and arrives at the plate as a batter to face Shiryun, who is now getting ready to pitch the ball to him. Right after that, Shiryun winds up and throws an extremely fast two-seam fastball that travels straight and goes directly towards Tae-oh's glove without any deviation. Afterward, Horyong gets a strike called on him, and Shiryun realizes and understands that this strike is going to be the key turning point of their match right now. However, everyone gets shocked and surprised to see that Shiryun's restraints increased and his velocity went up, and Biko thinks to himself that it's because he trained his muscles harder, but Hwan wonders and believes that it's because he worked hard on throwing his pitches with better mechanics. Afterward, Shiryun throws another ball toward the plate, and it gets hit as a foul ball, which annoys Horyong as he wonders to himself what this heavy ball is that he's throwing. Wonho High's coach thinks to himself that Shiryun throws an interesting ball with good movement, and looking at his middle school game results from before, he thought he was a good pitcher only on that day and nothing more. On the other hand, Horyong is going crazy and losing his composure, as he thinks to himself that a pitcher like him is not the level of the world stage at all. Afterward, Shiryun throws another pitch toward the plate, and this time around, Horyong manages to hit a shot that goes straight out of the field and over the fence, and it's another home run for him. Horyong now thinks to himself that as soon as Shiryun arrived on the mound, he devoured him completely, so now he believes that Shiryun is going to be completely shattered and broken mentally. However, Shiryun just smiles calmly at him, which surprises him and catches him off guard completely. Afterward, Horyong goes back to the side of the dugout, where his coach asks him about the back-spinning ball he just faced at the plate. Horyong tells him and explains that it felt different from usual, as the power that stretched and came at him was definitely a fastball with force. Afterward, the match continues and keeps going on, and Team Wonho gets another home run hit, which made Tae-oh think to himself about what's happening right now. Then, Shiryun throws another ball toward the plate, and it gets called a strike by the umpire, so he wonders to himself what his mentality here is at this moment. Afterward, Shiryun keeps throwing his heavy fastballs with power and determination, because he likes to throw at the mound at his best ability and performance level possible. Shiryun then manages to strike out a batter successfully and gets the out, and then another batter arrives at the plate to face him, and he also gets straight hit out and eliminated from the inning. Afterward, it's Mir Hai's turn for batting now at the plate, and Tae-oh goes to the mound to bat, and the catcher behind him is none other than Horyong, who is catching for Wonho. Afterward, the pitcher throws the ball toward home plate, but Tae-oh doesn't hit it and holds back his swing, so Horyong says to his pitcher that he held up well on that pitch, so now they should go into the strike zone one more time with the next throw. Afterward, a journalist arrives at the stadium late, thinking to himself that he missed the expected game because he overslept and woke up too late, but his partner who is already there at the field calls him over to where she is sitting. The guy asks her about the game and how it's going so far, so she says and explains that centering on the cleanup trio players, Wonho is high with strong attack power and hitting ability, but still even then, Mir Hai haven't fallen far behind them in the score. She then asks him the question of if there are pro athletes who are doing better than these kids' games right now. The guy tells her and explains that there is high demand for high school baseball articles that increase these days in the media, so at a time like this right now, they have to push hard with their coverage so that the level of professional baseball goes up as well in the future. Now that it's Mir Hai's turn for defending on the field, the journalist sees Shiryun and asks the girl sitting next to him who he is exactly, so she says and explains that the average velocity of his pitches are 134 kilometers, which seems normal and not too special. Afterward, Hae-chan, who Shiryun met before, arrives for pitching on the mound, and seeing him step up, Jiu wonders to herself that he must be a freshman or transfer student who just joined. Seeing him pitch from the stands, his dad who is sitting in the VIP room gets excited and happy to watch him play. Afterward, Hae-chan throws his extremely fast ball with power, which goes straight into Horyong's glove behind the plate perfectly. Seeing that pitch happen, everyone wonders and questions who that pitcher is and how did Wonho Hai hide someone like him from them until now. It turns out that the speed of Hae-chan's pitch is nearly 155 kilometers and he is the final weapon of Wonho. Afterward, Hae-chan throws another missile shot with incredible speed, and Sungdo couldn't even see the ball that passed through him and went by so fast. Afterward, Sungdo gets a strikeout call from the umpire, and as he goes back to the dugout disappointed, he tells Kanjin to be careful when facing him at the plate. Afterward, Hae-chan throws the ball at Kanjin with force, but instead of hitting it with his bat, he dodges it and moves out of the way, and Horyong thinks to himself that it must be his first time facing a true genius pitcher like this. Afterward, Hae-chan throws another ball toward the plate, and it gets called a strike by the umpire on Kanjin. However, when Hae-chan throws another ball at him, this time Kanjin manages to hit it and make contact, and this surprises everyone watching in the stadium. Kanjin thinks to himself that there is not a single ball that he hasn't been able to hit in his career, but then on another ball thrown, he gets a strikeout call and is eliminated. Afterward, it's Mir Hai's turn to defend on the field now, and Tae-oh tells Shiryun and instructs him to throw his two-seam pitch in his way and follow his lead. Meanwhile, the journalist thinks to himself that this is the first half of the game, and it was a hit fight so far, as it seems like all the pitchers on each team are trying to change their mood and momentum. On the other hand, the match continues with two batters of Wonho Hai dominating the field and getting hits. When Horyong arrives at the plate to bat, Shiryun throws a straight fastball at him that he misses and swings through. Horyong thinks to himself that the ball has gotten better than last time they faced each other, so why isn't Shiryun breaking down mentally or physically yet? Tae-oh then asks Horyong and questions him why he is not scared or worried, because it's not working the way he wants it to or something like that. Afterward, Shiryun throws another fastball with power that Horyong manages to hit and make contact with, but Sungdo quickly takes the ball off the ground and throws it back to the base with speed, which leads to all three batters being out in the play. Shiryun's teacher asks Jiu if the match can be turned around at this point, as Shiryun is doing well on the mound, but Jiu says and explains that Shiryun's ball is getting hit by Wonho Hai little by little as the game goes on. Meanwhile, Wonho Hai's coach thinks to himself that Mir Hai's pitcher is also dominant and strong, as they have 8 strikeouts in 3 innings so far, and he has 1 walk allowed, but his pitch count is good right now. Meanwhile, Mir Hai's coach tells Shiryun and advises him to throw it like he does now and keep it up, as Wonho Hai is their opponent team, so even if they win or lose this game, it's a good match for them to experience. He further tells him and explains that the tension he felt while dealing with others and pitching, he has to clearly remember which course he entered with great power and confidence on the mound. Afterward, Mir Hai goes back to defense on the field, and Tae-oh wonders to himself that if there was at least one breaking ball in Shiryun's arsenal, it would have been easier to win this matchup. However, now he can't help but hope that Shiryun's pitch will hold up and stay strong through the game. Afterward, Kangwon arrives as a batter in the field at the plate, but due to Shiryun's amazing pitch and control, they still lack behind because of Biko's defensive error earlier. Afterward, Juwon goes for batting and Shiryun throws a 4-seam which Tae-oh tells him to do. Juwon manages to hit the ball and he even saves himself after getting a run. Afterward, the match continues as Shiryun throws another pitch, but Juwon surprises everyone with a sudden bunt and sprints toward first base. However, Shiryun reacts quickly, grabs the ball, and throws it to Biko, resulting in a double out. Watching from the stands, Hae-chan's father observes Shiryun and thinks to himself that the boy is a disciplined player. He doesn't even flinch while pitching. Then, Hae-sol steps up to bat. As soon as Shiryun throws the next ball, Hae-sol swings powerfully and sends it flying straight out of the field for a home run, shocking everyone. With that, the game ends in Mir Hai's defeat. Afterward, Ji-yu and her teacher walk out of the stadium together, as she thinks about analyzing the new unexpected person that has been added to Wonho Hai's team recently. On her way walking out, she finds Hae-chan's father heading out of the building as well, but she thinks to herself that she might have seen him somewhere before in the past. On the other hand, both teams shake hands with each other on the field after the game, but Horyong specially offers his respect to Sungdo as he extends his hand forward to him. Instead of handshaking and accepting it, Horyong once again leaves without shaking it and walks away from him. Later in the bus, the red-head guy tries to motivate the boys around him, saying that they don't have to be depressed about this, as it's just one game and not the end. Sungdo wonders if there is a chance that they have to win all the remaining games to pass as the number one in the region. Just then, the coach gets on the bus and asks everyone if anyone wants to use the restroom before they leave, and it turns out Tae-oh, Kanjin and Shiryun now want to go and need to use it. On their way to the restroom, Kanjin says and mentions that Shiryun's throws have gotten better since before, which Tae-oh also agrees with and thinks is true. Suddenly, they notice Hae-chan talking to his teammates in the hallway, but Shiryun decides that he wants to talk to him and approach him directly. Afterward, Shiryun goes to him and walks over, but they all start glaring at him with angry looks, but then Hae-chan tells his teammates that he knows Shiryun from somewhere before. Afterward, Hae-chan's teammates leave them alone, telling him that if he talks nonsense with this guy, they will kill him in school later. Shiryun then asks Hae-chan if he remembers him from before, and he replies and says that he saw him on the subway when they met. Hae-chan tells Shiryun that he was very bright earlier and all the players at their school seemed desperate and unsettled. Afterward, Kanjin tells Hae-chan that they should be friends since he's never seen a throw like his before. He asks which middle school Hae-chan went to and says he must have been famous there. But Hae-chan replies that he didn't attend middle school in Korea, he transferred from America. He adds that his father is Korean and that he actually learned baseball by playing games on Korean servers. Hearing that, Tae-oh wonders why someone would come all the way from America, the home of baseball. He then starts asking more personal questions, like why Hae-chan would join a team like theirs when he's a god-level pitcher from America. Meanwhile, Hae-chan's father receives a call from someone who tells him that his son threw a 155 km/h ball and since it was his first game, the news is flashing again. The guy then asks his father if Hae-chan is really clean but Hae-chan's father asks how many times he has to check to believe it as he passed the doping test several times. The guy then says and declares that he will vouch for it and guarantee, as Hae-chan is just a genius that only comes around once every 100 years, and soon he will become a star who will rule the world stage. Meanwhile, Kanjin also says and mentions that there are many things he doesn't understand about the situation they are in, and he asks Shiryun if he also played baseball since he was in elementary school like most of them did. He then tells Hae-chan and explains to him that Shiryun also played baseball half his life so far growing up. However, today was his highest speed, which is 134 km/h, but his pitch velocity was 150 km in less than 2 years of playing the sport. Kanjin then asks him and questions him why he came from America to play here in Korea, or if someone is forcibly dragging him in and threatening to force him to play baseball against his will or choice. Hearing that, Shiryun quickly asks Hae-chan and reassures him that there is nothing like that happening to him, as baseball or something like that in a forced situation is not possible to play well. Hae-chan says and responds that it doesn't matter which way he plays the game, and no matter how much he plays it, under his condition he is just good at it naturally. Tae-oh quickly asks him if he really likes baseball as a sport, but Hae-chan says and admits that he doesn't like baseball at all, which makes Tae-oh angry and upset to hear. Hearing that statement, Shiryun thinks to himself that baseball made him the happiest person alive in the world, and whenever something sad happened to him, he always played baseball to feel better. However, he feels bad that Hae-chan could easily say something like that while having that look on his face without caring. Shiryun then says and tells him that the next time they meet each other, he will make him realize how fun baseball is to play. Afterward, they leave the restroom area, and Horyong joins Hae-chan outside, saying to him that he wishes he played baseball a little longer with them. The next day after the game, someone shows Shiryun and the others about the news article where Hei-chan's father gives an interview to reporters, and they even talk about how he himself took banned substances in the past during his career. He even shows Hei-chan's medical report that he is clean and drug-free, and that he is a natural talent with no help. 3 days later after the game, the red-haired coach forces the boys to train harder so that they can become stronger and don't repeat the same mistakes they made before. He himself then stands as a batter at the plate and makes Kanjin throw his pitches toward him for practice. Seeing that happening, Sungdo thinks to himself that Kanjin is little bit more motivated than when he was defending in the past games, and Ryu says and mentions that if he didn't make mistakes like that before there will be no progress, which would be the problem of it all. On the other hand, Mapung and the coach check out Hwan's pitches on the mound. Mapung thinks to himself that Hwan still has psychological problems when he goes to the field to pitch in games. Mapung then asks the coach what he thinks of that press conference now and mentions that Hei-chan's father was his junior back in the day. The coach explains and tells him that he was a pitcher who showed strong enough ability to move to the United States right after graduating from college, as he wanted to win and advance from the minor league to the major league successfully. However, he couldn't perform properly and well enough and was eventually kicked out for using a banned substance during his career as a player. Mapung then says and mentions that there is something that bothers him about this situation, and that is Hei-chan's pitching that took place in the match they just played against him. Mapung thinks that there is definitely something wrong with Hei-chan as it seems impossible for a human to do what he did. However, the coach says most people do but they can't do anything about it as the association has also completed registration as a player. Meanwhile, Ki-hyuk and Tae-oh are standing in the punishment area, as Ki-hyuk is angry at Tae-oh because of him his manhwa comics got confiscated by the coach earlier. Just then at that moment, Mapung arrives at the area, so Ki-hyuk starts begging him desperately to let him get his manhwa comics back from the coach's office. Mapung says and tells him that he is banned from reading it for a while as punishment for now. On the other hand, at the field, the coach tells Hwan that his training ends here for today, and they should talk after the dinner in his office room later. He even tells him and instructs him to bring Tae-oh with him when he comes to the office. Meanwhile, Shiryun calls his long-lost friend on the phone who seems to be in a different team now playing, and Soohyun who is walking beside Shiryun thinks to himself that they both seem pretty close with each other. How long do you think it will take for Shiryun to master his two-seam fastball? Comment fastball if you'd like part 2 of this series. Make sure to like and subscribe the channel for sports manhwa recap.